last 30 days with a running total of the 30-day median with this dark blue line here, and the actual accounts for that day in this light blue. So if you continue along here, you can see peaks and valleys here in the light blue, and you go along and maybe see a spike like this one here. And if you're curious, you can see that's on November 15th. Go ahead and click on that, and then the information will just show what's going on November 15th with this heat map showing there's a lot going on up here, the counts down here as well. So let's see what's going on in B1, and maybe we can get a better sense of what was going on that day. So you see, lots of traffic stops, lots of traffic stops, lots of traffic stops that day. All right. So that's just one of the ways you can get pretty granular with the data here. But let's say you want to get more context for what's actually going on. Well, you can also click on the newsletter for that beat. And if you do that, it will take you to the most recent newsletter from the Santa Rosa Police Lieutenant for that beat. And it will give you the news and then some of the numbers as well that they collect and report on. So that, as you can see, this dashboard has a lot of useful information and tools it gives you insights around police activity around the city. All right, let's move on. For the next slides, I'm going to turn it over to Brian to go over some of the more technical aspects.
All right, good afternoon. I'm going to actually go off script real quick, which isn't always a great idea, but I thought it might be good to be able to see this real time. So I'm going to just go to the URL that Luke mentioned, insights.srcity.org. And so here, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is frequent updates. And so rather than saying real-time updates, it really depends on the report or the dashboard and how frequently we update it. I don't know if you all have ever been on a site that you're looking at and then you realize the data is like 3 years old. So what we've done here is there's a line where we actually have a data timestamp. So in this case here, this data was last updated at 1:16 this morning. And so as you go through all of the different dashboards, we have information about the date timestamp as well as the frequency of the update. And so in this case with the building permits, for example, we update them every morning at 11 a.m. We have things like the community service requests, which as Luke said are my Santa Rosa requests that people are working on, as well as our CityWorks work order system. And those are updated throughout the day every 3 hours. And so that information is there frequently, as is the police data is updated every 3 hours. Different reports might only be updated quarterly, depending on what kind of information. We have some housing information, for example. And so that information's available on the site. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about this is in order to be able to do these updates, this is really an application that we built in-house with our in-house software development team. And so there's a lot more to it than just the reports themselves. There's an administrative tool that allows staff to be able to go in and manage these reports, manage these updates. It has version control, security, and things like that in it. And so it's a full-blown application, and I wanted to thank the software developers, the application specialists that have worked on this, as well as Luke, Mark, Keisha, the city manager's office for really the vision around this. And we have a lot of plans for the future for it. So this here is the first cohort really of 8 or so reports. We plan on adding more in the future. We're looking right now at some fire incident data as another area of popular requests, so we're looking at adding some around that. And then the last piece I'll leave with is this suggestions and questions. So really this tool is really for the community to use and get insights into the activities of what's going on at the city. So there's this questions or suggestions button that has been added that will allow people who are here, if you have suggestions, your name, email is optional. But there's this comments area here that we're looking for feedback on any kind of information. If people have questions about the site, if they're having problems with the site, we're really looking for input too on the kinds of information that the public's interested in seeing, and then we'll look into if we have that data to be able to build out future dashboards. So that's kind of the long-term goal there. Are there any questions?
Looking to council to see if there are any questions. Vice Mayor Stat.
Brian and Luke, thank you so much. This was such a labor-intensive project, and it was so time-consuming and tedious that I feel compelled to ask a few questions, at least to recognize the work. First of all, with respect to the updates, how many of them are manual? Is this fully integrated?
Most of them, of the ones that are out here right now, I believe all but 2, I want to say, are automated. And so it really depends on the frequency of when they need to be updated. Basically, if they're being updated multiple times throughout the day, daily or weekly, we do automated updates. And so we pull that information in automatically through jobs, programmatic jobs. Things that are updated quarterly, monthly, we don't have any monthly right now, but we know we'll add some in the future. Typically, we would try to get that automated as well. A lot of the quarterly data comes from like 4 or 5, like a housing information, for example. It's really data from 4 or 5 different systems, and some of it is manually tallied and so forth. And so some of that data we do manually right now.
That integration is such a tricky piece. How's the behind-the-scenes maintenance? What's the maintenance like for this?
We've tried to build it to a point where it minimizes the maintenance, but we are pulling data from multiple systems. Even so, say the community service request is pulling data from 3 different systems all into one place. We have jobs that automate a lot of that, but on a semi-regular basis, we have support issues that we need somebody to go in. It could have been one work order could have been miscoded, and it throws an error, backs up the rest of the jobs. And so there is definitely a maintenance component to it. It does run on in-house servers, so we have to keep those updated. There's a cybersecurity component to it. There's regular software updates that need to go on, but then the application itself needs maintenance as well.
I won't bore the audience any further or make you go deeper into the weeds, but I wanted to respect the work because this was a big project. So a final question, because the data that we're getting from this and the visibility, the transparency for the community is outstanding. At last week's meeting, we did have a discussion about at some point in the future potentially being able to see street repair plans, which is such a common question from community members. Would this be the system in the future that kind of data would be made visible?
Yeah, go ahead and we can put it in on the feedback and add to that. But yes, it is the type of thing that could be available on here. We'd like to hear feedback. What areas would we like to see? I know CIP projects in general are, where those are going to be taking place and so forth. Any kind of data like that we can serve up that provides the information that the public is looking for is what we're looking to do with that site.
That's the perfect IT answer. You sent me to the community feedback portal. I will visit. Thank you so much for the great work on this project.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Looking to Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Because you are a fortune teller,
Sí,
What-
como dice la fortuna.
I will translate if you'd like me to.
Lo puedo traducir si quiere.
Yeah, you see what I said? This is the question.
Esa es la
AI.
pregunta.
What does the system look like in the future?
Artificial.
with the
Councilmember
internet?
Alvarez, if you can give us just a moment, we're having technical difficulties.
Traductora, ¿se puede escuchar en la línea abierta?
Councilmember Alvarez, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. AI in the future, with the implementation of multiple programs that interact with the community, what does something like that look like in your opinion?
Actually, at our exec staff meeting yesterday, we talked a lot about AI and the future of AI here at the city. We're still really working on specific scenarios. AI is in a, although it's been around since the 1950s, it's obviously taken a huge, gotten a lot of momentum in the recent years and is really headed in many different directions. So with AI, I think it really needs to be, what do we want to focus on? We could spend time, this site, potentially, as far as AI goes. One of the things I would like to see is the ability to just use natural language to be able to ask questions. So rather than having to poke around, just say, I live at 123 Main Street, what permits are in my area? And have it be able to respond. The data's behind the scenes there, but with an AI, with AI and natural language in front of it, to integrate that would allow the public to more just ask questions in a more of a chat kind of format to get information. It could be, looking at this data, you can see how long it takes to apply for a certain kind of building permit, for example. But with AI, you'd be able to, or with a chat kind of piece of AI integrated with this, you could say, in my neighborhood, what's been the average time it's taken to do an ADU permit? Those kind of questions that AI could really serve well.
It sounds like really focusing on the customer service aspect of our departments.
Exactly.
That's great to hear. Thank you, sir.
To kind of compound on that, I think that using the LLM model or a chatbot service would actually increase accessibility a lot to people that aren't familiar with these tools like Power BI, so they're able to interact with that data.
Looking to council members to see if there are any additional questions. Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment on this item?
Thank you, Mayor. We are now taking public comment on item 8.1. If you are in the council chamber and would like to comment but have not yet provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. The first speaker will be Dwayne. 1 moment, let me get the timer up. Go right
Hello,
ahead.
my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland. Thank you so much. Congratulations on this advancement. And the updated info could be a wonderful thing for citizens in the future. I'm definitely very quite interested in how artificial intelligence and the natural language approaches could be very helpful. So I hope you will seek more funding and try to have that be implemented as soon as possible. I'd also like to ask you not just to seek it from government agencies. Reach out to foundations now. It's going to be a tougher row to hoe in the future with the federal government, but because we have some nice community foundations here in Sonoma County and Marin County, you could be getting them to help you get this up and running as soon as possible in a bigger and better way with a far greater outreach. Last week I just heard from the chief of police the address for the temporary Roseland substation, the police substation. And this would be a perfect way to get that word out to people. Most folks I know, they don't know anything about it yet. And this is the type of thing where you get this out, you let the newspapers know about it, especially the newspapers that are free, the Bohemian and the Sonoma County Gazette, and really spread the word so that the citizens become as informed as possible to be as helpful to you as we go forward, getting ready for the next year and all that brings. There's going to be some unexpected things coming with the new federal administration. So we want to be ready and let them know that we're not just organized, but we are going to be successful at what we're trying to do in Sonoma County, no matter who's up at the top. Thank you kindly.
Mayor Rogers and members of the council, my name is Gregory Farron. I know it sometimes appears that Dwayne and I do a tag team, but he did say small community foundations. I'm president of a small community foundation, and I want to appreciate this dashboard system. It helps us understand the needs of the community. One particular addendum, or at least improvement, I'd like to recommend Most of you know that I've been following for quite a few years the homeless services and homeless needs. And we used to get from your city, upon my request in a Public Records Act, all of those misdemeanors and felony arrests through your data from the police department. And we would follow, as you remember, those who were arrested and from encampments. I noticed that the events lists what you're calling, I guess, unwanted guests. I assume that means someone who went out because a complaint was filed on behalf of the neighborhood. There's another couple of them in there, but I'd kind of like to know, we used to be able to identify what happened when you went out. So you went out and there was an unwanted guest. Were they arrested? Were they cited? Is there any other action that took place as a result of the event? I'd like to see that. I think you can provide it, and I think it would be helpful. So that's my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. I see no one else approaching the podium for public comment on this item.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank you too for the presentation and all the hard work that has gone into getting the dashboard up and running. And Luke, I have to say, I'm digging your sweater.
Thank you. This is the way.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 9, our city manager and city attorney reports. Madam City Manager.
Thank you. I have nothing to report this evening.
Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a litigation report this evening. There were no settlements previously authorized by the council in closed session that were finalized in November. Our caseload remains fairly consistent with approximately 32 litigation matters currently. Many cases are in the discovery phase, and most have trial dates assigned to them. As always, we continue to try to resolve smaller cases at little or no cost to the city.
Thank you. And with that, Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment on this item?
Thank you. We are now taking public comment on item 9.1. Pardon me, 9. If you are in council chamber and would like to comment but have not yet provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. Mayor, I see no one approaching the podium for public comments on this item.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10, statements of abstention by council members. Are there any statements of abstentions for today? Seeing none, we will continue to item 11, mayor and council member reports. Is there anyone wishing to make a report? And we'll start off with Councilmember Okrepke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just two quick things. Quick shout out to the organizers of the Coffee Park Lighted Car Christmas Parade, which took place this last Saturday. Great community event celebrating a community that is still recovering but always resilient. So it's come to my attention that there's a lot of people that are coming from outside of the neighborhood, so it's drawing quite the attention, and it's a great event. So I look forward to it again next year. And then last night I took part in the League of California Cities Fire Insurance Working Group meeting. It was the first meeting of our group, basically looking for solutions through what local government can do to help our residents with fire insurance, and whether that be mitigation or legislation. There's more to come. This is just a very preliminary meeting, but happy to take part in it.
Thank you. Looking to council to see if there are any additional report outs. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Thursday, I had the pleasure of sitting with the Rosa Business Association. They continue to move forward with their efforts in uniting the commerce community of Roseland, and I'm very happy to report that they will be setting their website, launching their website. So hopefully we have a chance to visit them. Also on Thursday, I believe it was, I had the pleasure and the honor of hosting the unveiling of the Hearn Community Hub, and it was actually awesome to see the turnout that we had and the amount of of individuals. You know, I asked everybody to stand up and stay standing to acknowledge them. And for myself, being at the front of the room and looking towards the back and seeing the amount of people that have had something to do with giving Southwest Santa Rosa representation is a thing of beauty. And I definitely want to applaud the efforts of council, former council, as well as staff and the community members who are making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking to council, Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to announce I've been getting a lot of emails and concerns from parents and community members about the potential school closures, and I'm not sure if the rest of council has been receiving these as well, but I wanted to make it very clear that City Council doesn't have any jurisdiction over those decisions. That is a decision of the school board, and encourage community members to attend the Santa Rosa City School meetings, and that is where the decision making takes place in these types of things. We understand that it's very challenging and stressful for families right now, but I just wanted to make sure that people knew that it wasn't actually under our jurisdiction to make those calls for the City of Santa Rosa schools. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And checking one more time. All right. So December 11th, I was able to host a luncheon for the faith leaders in District 7, some of which are sitting in the audience. So thank you for joining us today. If there is anyone that was not invited, please let me know for next year. And in addition, as I reported last week, I was able to attend World AIDS Day at Kaiser Permanente. But I was asked to bring a few things back. So heterosexuals and Hispanics are not aware that they are at risk and are getting diagnosed once they are sick and have AIDS diagnosis. This means that they have been putting others at risk for close to 10 years, higher risk of death and immune response. There's a huge push and a health department campaign around opting out of testing right now. It's opt-in, so if you don't think to ask or are offered a test, it won't happen. So they're encouraging people to opt in and just ask for tests. And then to tell you about a very wonderful person that I have the privilege to know. Nicole was diagnosed with HIV in Santa Rosa in 2000. She was a 24-year-old woman with the risk factors of being what she thought was a monogamous relationship. She was one of those people who got very sick 2 years prior to the diagnosis, went to the doctor, and was not offered or tested for HIV, nor did she think to ask. When her boyfriend landed in the ER with full-blown AIDS, that's when she got tested and diagnosed. Nicole ran a program in Seattle for women living with HIV for 15 years and a national advocate activist. Upon relocation to Sonoma County, she started looking into the meeting with local organizations, public health, medical providers to see what the state of HIV in this county was. She doesn't want to see another woman and or person go through what she went through. And HIV is treatable with medication, and folks that are on treatment and have an undetectable viral load, they will not pass it on to others. I am not a doctor. This is information that was told to me. I would like to give you that disclosure. Bringing this to elected officials is important for them to know what's happening in our community. So people are still being diagnosed with both HIV and AIDS in the county of Sonoma. So with that, Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. We are now taking public comment on item 11. If you are in the chamber and would like to comment but have not yet provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. The first speaker will be Nicole.
I'm the one that hello, I'm Nicole. Natalie just talked about HIV in the community. I'm the positive one. I just think it's important that folks know that folks aren't being tested, and a lot of the folks are people of color. So folks are going in, as Natalie said, with an AIDS diagnosis. And so I think that it's important that the community knows that folks really need to be, all folks, all populations need to be tested for HIV. Sorry, I don't have like a public, I'm just an advocate and an HIV positive person that doesn't want to see anyone else in this community end up living with HIV when it's preventable. So appreciate being here, and you'll see me again.
Thank you. Mayor, I see no one else approaching the podium for public comments on this item.
Thank you, Nikki, for that. And we're moving on to item 12, approval of minutes. We have none for this evening. Moving on to item 13, our consent items. Madam City Clerk, may you please read the consent items?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 13.1, resolution, second amendment to professional services agreement number F002663 with Best and Krieger LLP for continued legal representation. Item 13.2, resolution, fifth amendment to professional services agreement number F002259 with Best and Krieger LLP for real estate services. Item 13.3, resolution, approval and issuance of a purchase order for the purchase of one Caterpillar 306 compact excavator. Item 13.4, resolution, waiver of competitive bid and approval of non-standard agreement with Peregrine Technologies Incorporated. Item 13.5, resolution, waiver of competitive bid and approval of non-standard master services agreement with Flock Group Incorporated. Item 13.6, resolution, extension of proclamation of local homeless emergency. Item 13.7, resolution, seventh amendment. One moment, I just saw that I have the timer going and it's going to beep, and I forgot to shut it off. My apologies. Item 13.7, resolution, seventh amendment to David J. Powers and Associates Incorporated, agreement F001375 to provide environmental services for the Roseland Creek Community Park and Master Plan. Item 13.8, resolution, approval and issuance of a purchase order for the purchase of one Rapid View IBAC sewer inspection vehicle. Item 13.9, resolution, professional services agreement with OIR Group LLC, independent auditor, to review the police department.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. And bringing it back to council to see if there are any questions on these items. Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment?
Thank you. We are now taking public comment on the consent calendar, items 13.1 through 13.9. If you are in the chamber and would like to comment but have not provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. The first speaker will be Dwayne.
Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland, and I wanted to make sure that there was a better ground truthing approach that undertakes what's going to occur with 13.7. There's a creek that's a big part of this whole project. You got a name for her, but from what we've been reading in the past, it seems that you don't really want to put as much into the effort for the creek restoration at this time, and you want to do a master plan that kind of circumvents that creek, and it doesn't seem like it might be as helpful. So ground truthing is something where a consultant reaches out to the people in the community and actually finds out what's been going on, not just from the staff's point of view, but from the people who've been involved in the project much longer than many of the staff may have been working for the city of Santa Rosa. So as you know, whenever you got to deal with a waterway, there's federal permits along with state permits. Now this next federal government that's coming in is perhaps not going to be as helpful to disadvantaged communities such as Roseland, and may even try to hobble projects. Some of the rhetoric you hear from these people coming at the federal level is that disadvantaged, underserved, and overburdened communities such as Roseland, which have a lot of people from different ethnic groups, may actually be a attractant to folks who want to hurt this project that's been going on longer than the Southeast Greenway. Look into the Roseland Creek Concept Plan financed by the city in 2004 after 5 years of advocacy by people in the community. And then work with the community so that we can get the best possible approaches to make sure we can get funding, not from the feds, because I actually think they're going to try to hurt us in Roseland, but from the state, and then from the community foundations and other organizations that can be helpful to disadvantaged areas like us. We've never really had a political voice until Mr. Alvarez got here, so I'm hoping you folks will make a point of telling the Powers Group, who I've never met any of these people. Nobody I know who's worked on this project for 25 years has heard anything from this company. So please, let's have them do a little bit of ground truthing with the real folks who've been involved all along. Thank you for your time, and go Roseland.
Thank you, Mayor. I see no one else approaching the podium for public comment on consent calendar.
Thank you, and I will be handing it over to Vice Mayor Stapp, but before I do, I would like to acknowledge that this is your last time doing the consent items as our Vice Mayor currently, and so I wanted to give you a token of appreciation from the council, and thank you for your work.
I know what this is. I don't know that it's legal that we open it on the dais.
Anyone that knows you knows what it is.
This is spoiler alert. It's wine. Thank you very much. I know I'm going to like it. And we'll always have the memories of the consent items, Madam Mayor. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk more about that later.
And with that, Vice Mayor Stapp, can you please make a motion?
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to make a motion to approve items 13.1 through 13.9 and waive further reading of the text.
Second.
We have a motion made by Vice Mayor Stapp and a second by Councilmember Okrepke. Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate call the vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Okrepke?
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald?
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Stapp?
Aye.
Mayor Rogers?
Aye.
Let the record show that passes unanimously.
Thank you. It is only 4:44, not quite time for public comment on non-agenda matters, so we will continue on to items 15. Madam City Manager?
Item 15.1 is a report item, American Rescue Plan Act Spending Plan Update.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, Darielle Dunstan, Assistant City Manager. I have Luke Fazer here with me, who will be assisting with this presentation. While he pulls this up, I do want to acknowledge that Luke fairly recently was promoted to admin analyst. This is his first city council meeting, and so please take it easy on him. Okay, so we are here to talk about the American Rescue Plan Act, better known as ARPA. And I want to remind you all that this item first came before you all in February of 2022, where staff made recommendations for a spending plan after the U.S. Department of Treasury made an appropriation, $34.6 million to the city of Santa Rosa. You all adopted that spending plan. We came before you again in December of 2023 to update that spending plan, and here we are again in December of 2024 to give you all an additional update. I do want to remind you we're not asking any action of the council tonight. The purpose of this presentation is to, one, ensure you all that we are in compliance with the U.S. Treasury's federal regulations that all ARPA funding is obligated no later than December 31st, 2024. We're also going to give you some program updates specifically to some of the programs that you all have approved, and then we're going to answer any questions that you all may have. And before I dive in, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge this was a team effort, interdepartmental, and we wouldn't be here before you without that yeoman's effort from everyone. And so it is recommended by the City Manager's Office and the Finance Department that the Council receive an update on the American Rescue Plan Act, better known as ARPA, spending plan, including expenditures to date, program progress, noteworthy outcomes, and to ensure compliance with the U.S. Treasury's ARPA obligation deadline of December 31st, 2024. I mentioned many of this in my opening, but this item provides an update to you all following the approval of the spending plan in February of 2022, and it also includes you all's authorized modifications that were made in December of 2023. A little bit of background, the U.S. Treasury made an appropriation of $34.6 million to support the public health response to COVID-19 pandemic, which laid a foundation for strong and equitable economic recovery. And the federal requirement is that these funds must be obligated, not drawn down, but obligated no later than December 31st, 2024. And those funds need to be completely exhausted by December 31st, 2026. So here is the updated spending plan. It may be difficult for you all to see, there's a lot going on, but I want to draw your attention to 3 columns specifically. The encumbered funds column, the obligated funds column, and the expenditures to date column. And so the total appropriation was $34.6 million. Of that $34.6 million, 19.4 has been expended to date, and so that's about 55%. If you look at the encumbered funds, that bottom line, we're looking at approximately $6.7 million that has been encumbered, so that means that they are under contract and will continue to be drawn down over the next 2 years. And then the rightmost column, obligated funds, we're showing a balance of approximately $8.4 million. Please don't be alarmed. The bulk of that is the Hearn Community Hub, which came before you all, I believe, in October of this year. And so that contract process is very much underway, and we anticipate getting the requisite signatures by December 31st. As far as the U.S. Treasury is concerned, these funds are obligated, and so we run no risk of being out of compliance with the federal government in terms of the obligated funds. I do want to note, if you notice, this spending plan was current as of November 1st, 2024, and a lot has occurred since then. And so when you look under the obligated funds column for the in-response mental health support team, it is showing approximately $478,000. Those funds have been encumbered, and our police department is confident that those funds will actually be spent down prior to the end of this year. Additionally, the Small Business Support Program, you may have noticed in your staff report that we granted 45 grant agreements for facade improvements, for parklets, for murals. And the staff report notes that 37 of those 45 agreements have been executed. And I'm happy to note that as of today, 43 of those 45 grant agreements have been executed. So 96% of the small business support programs and business incubators have been executed, and we are working through those 2 outstanding contracts to make sure that they get executed before the end of the year. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Luke, who is going to provide some nuanced information specifically to the programs that have been developed and where we stand as of today. So Luke, take it away.
Thank you, and I'll try and speak into the microphone this time. So the first program I want to talk about is the ARPA administration program. This is funded by ARPA funds to provide compliance and oversight. The finance department works closely with Haggerty Consulting, and their guidance and expertise is vital to make sure that every ARPA dollar is accounted for and is reported according to U.S. Treasury guidelines. As of November 1st, their budgeted amount was $250,000, with the expended amount of just over $89,000, with the encumbered amount of $160,353.75. All funds in this program have been obligated according to the deadline requirement. Next, I would like to talk about the Safe Parking Pilot Program. This is a program that's facilitated or operated by the Catholic Charities Group. They provide up to 52 parking spaces for individuals facing homelessness to park their vehicles in a safe location, and are provided basic services such as portable toilets, showers, meals, and they're also provided case management services to help them acquire temporary or permanent housing. You can see that the totals to date is 260 individuals have been sheltered, with 22 participants exiting to temporary housing and 71 gaining that permanent housing and securing some stability. Their budgeting amount was just over $2.5 million, with the expended and obligated funds meeting that deadline of the U.S. Treasury, all 100%. Next is the Secure Family Fund. This fund uses ARPA dollars to provide youth that are undocumented with an immigration attorney and a bilingual caseworker, and they help navigate the process in which to gain the special immigration juvenile status. And people that have been granted that status are working towards a path towards U.S. citizenship. The fund was provided $100,000 in ARPA funds. One accomplishment there I'd like to point out is that of the 26 cases that were filed, 9 youths did secure the SIJS status. Of their $100,000 that were budgeted, all $100,000 were expended, meeting that obligation deadline of 100% of obligation. Next is the Homeless Services Program. These programs listed here is just a participation with Catholic Charities. You've got the emergency service programs or emergency shelter programs through Sam Jones Hall, Caritas Family Support Center, and the subspecialized services at the Drop-In Center, and then also the ARPA funds also provide funding for the Homeless Outreach Services Program. You can see that it's a very successful programs all across the board. 640 individuals sheltered at Sam Jones Hall, as well as 502 adults and children at Caritas Family Support Center. The budgeted amount here was just over $9 million, with all of those budgeted dollars being obligated prior to the deadline. Important to note here is that while ARPA dollars do support these programs, they are funded through other means such as the Community Block Grant, General Fund, and other sources as well. Other partnerships with this Homeless Services Program are the Community Action Partnership of Sonoma County, and they help people secure financial stability for individuals that are at risk of eviction. The YWCA Safe House Domestic Violence Shelter provides shelter for families and individuals that are experiencing domestic violence, and the Community Housing Assistance Program provides safe parking for individuals as well. I just want to note that all of these partnerships provide a critical resource to people across the community. Next is the Child College Savings Accounts Fund. These are baby bonds that are funded by ARPA dollars. These funds are, the initial goal of these funds is to provide economic opportunities for future generations. Participants are, to be eligible, you have to be 0 to 5 years old and reside in Santa Rosa County with and be in a household of an AGI of up to $75,000. these initial deposits will grow over time, and then as those participants become graduate high school and enroll in a college education program or a career education program, they can withdraw those funds and use those towards education expenses. Budget amount for here was just over $1.5 million, with 100% of those funds being obligated prior to the deadline. Continuing on, we have the Child Care Facility Support Fund. The ARPA fund, or the ARPA funding here, provides child care facilities grants to renovate, repair, or improve existing child care facilities with the goal to increase accessibility to improve accessibility to to child care, yeah. Sorry, I had a brain fart. Of those grants that were awarded, 32 projects were completed, with 8 projects still in progress. Many of those are slated or anticipated to be completed by January of next year. Budgeted amount there was $2.9 million. All of those have been expended, meeting that obligation deadline. Right, moving on, we've got the Small Business Support Program. This program is designed to foster economic opportunities in the community for people that are, for communities that are underrepresented or in areas of underinvestment. The Small Business Tenant Improvement Program offers grants for improving the businesses' facade, parklet, and murals, and with an emphasis in areas that were underinvested. The Business Incubator Group focuses on 2 programs that help foster entrepreneurship and helps people gain skills and help Santa Rosa become a more inclusive economy. Stated here, oh sorry, I think that stated earlier by Assistant Manager Dunstan, 45 of the grants were, 43 of the 45 grants were fully executed. I think that.
Yes, that's correct. And again, at the time that this report was developed, this was accurate. It's no longer accurate today. 43 of those 45 grants have been executed, bringing that 82% up to 96%.
Thank you for the clarification there. You can see also that $1.1 million was budgeted towards them, and all of those funds have been obligated prior to the U.S. Treasury deadline. Continuing on, we have the Universal Basic Income Pilot Program. This program provided monthly payments of $500, focusing on people of lower income who are pregnant or families of young children that were negatively impacted by the pandemic. At least 80 of these participants were Santa Rosa residents. And they had two years of payments continuing through December 2024. They had a budgeted amount of just over $1 million, and all of those funds have been expended, meeting that obligation deadline. The In Response Mental Health Support Team is in partnership with the Santa Rosa Police Department, and they provide vital services to people experiencing a mental health crisis. And they do so through a holistic approach, through unarmed staff that are trained in de-escalation techniques. And they also provide wraparound services such as connecting people with housing resources or other resources that they may need. One thing that they were able to do in 2023 was they responded to almost 4,800 calls and provided just over 4,400 system navigation services, which allow individuals to navigate these complex systems to get the care that they need. They had $3.9 million budgeted towards them, with all of it being obligated prior to the deadline, referring back to City Manager, Assistant City Manager Dustin's comments earlier about that obligation amount 478 being encumbered, excuse me. Thank you. Right, this next slide is just recapping the resolution number 2023-2016 that authorized the reallocation of $2 million from the Sam Jones Hall Capital Improvement Program towards the Hearn Community Hub project. And then also the authorization that allowed the city manager to allocate ARPA funding designated for the Economic Development Strategic Plan, and $200,000 towards the homeless service programs. Next is the Hearn Community Hub. The Hearn Community Hub was budgeted $12 million to go towards this improvement project that is a 6-acre compound with many community services such as a library and a fire department. And they have obligated all their funds as well.
Thank you, Luke. And so again, the purpose of this item, we're not requesting any action of you all, but we did want to confirm that we have met the U.S. Treasury's obligation deadline, and we wanted to remind you all that spend down will continue to occur through December 31st, 2026. And so you'll see that expended column continue to decrease as the expenditures to date column continues to increase. And so with that, we're happy to answer any questions. I do have colleagues, staff in the audience, if there are nuanced questions that Luke or I are not able to answer, and we thank you all for the time.
Thank you for the presentation. And Luke, you did great. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Looking to council to see if there are any questions. Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. We are now taking public comments on item 15.1. If you are in the chamber and would like to comment but have not provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. The first speaker will be Gregory, followed by Dwayne. 1 moment.
Mayor Rogers and members of the council, my name is Gregory Farron. I serve on several county boards, one of which was the review committee, original working group for county ARPA. And we, of course, as you have been paying attention to the obligation deadline, we've gotten all of our money obligated, and it's pleasing to hear that you've done the same. What I want to point out to both the audience and to yourself is that you've done what the county, what the state and federal governments ask you to do, which is to spend it down. But I'm a little worried that in several cases, crucial services will end quickly. Safe parking in response, several crucial services, homeless services. It looks, according to your report, that about June of next year, they won't have any money coming to supply the services. And I'm aware that you're going to be having budget hearings next year and that you also have a deficit. I urge you all to seriously consider the value of these services provided by ARPA. I know we meaning I'm on the board of the Behavioral Health Board of the county and Measure O Oversight Committee. So we have an investment with you in the in-response program. As you know, we have a mobile crisis unit that expanded it to the entire county. And we are also contributing to your in-response program. So I urge you as a partner, as a member of the county boards that provide services in homeless services just like you do, we all need to continue these services. On behalf of the county, I urge you to step up as you have and continue your support for these services. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Dwayne. Sure, 1 moment.
Go ahead.
Is it on? All right. We'll just go with that. My name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland, recently annexed into the city of Santa Rosa 7 years ago. What you see before you here is something that's important because part of ARPA was to ensure a safe and healthy community for all. So this map that's right here is from 1898, the land atlas for Sonoma County, and this is a map of Santa Rosa at that time. And I'm going to point something out to you that's really important. To this day, there's still no curbs, sidewalks, and gutters over here in some of these areas. And over here to the south where Roseland is, right over in these areas, basically, we've been suffering from that same lack of infrastructure. Now, I realize you're quite proud you're going to build yourself a fire station and you got a big hoodoo about it. And it's kind of nice for the fire department, okay? But we got a fire station in Roseland, and we were doing fine with it. What we don't have is the basic infrastructure needs that we should have for a safe community for all. And when you talk with people about this, what you hear is that, well, the city says the property owner has to put in the sidewalk. When all this money came in, you folks could have been like, oh, hey, here we go. Let's get this neighborhood of Roseland and these neighborhoods of the Trowbridge area, the Hewitt area, over there on the west side of Santa Rosa, up to community standards. So you're going to say, well, the money's already allocated now, it's too late. Tough luck. Well, I want it to be in the record that people are pointing out, hey, we're still the most disadvantaged, underserved, and overburdened community, not just in Santa Rosa, but perhaps all of Sonoma County. And you folks are talking about a brand new fire station down in the Bellevue district, and like, look at how wonderful this is. That's just going to be helping those people already employed at the fire department and the library. And us folks up in Roseland, people will still have to walk over there without sidewalks along Hearn Avenue. That's unconscionable. I was on an elected committee 25 years ago where we were talking about you needed to have these infrastructure improvements along Hearn Avenue, and it didn't get done. So I'm asking you to keep it in mind. This money's gone. It'll never come back. But for the future, any money that comes from the federal government, please start looking over at Roseland to actually serve us for what we need, first and foremost, for the people, the kids who have to walk to school on barren ground that's all muddy right now. And then as the new council member comes in and new things are happening, look at us as if we're a way for you to get funding from the state, because the federal government's going to stiff us. They're going to be treating us like we are second-class citizens for the entire time of this next person's 4-year term. And nothing we can do about that either. But over in Roseland, we got a little motto, never say die. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Next speaker, please go ahead.
Good evening, Council. I had a tremendous issue with the American Rescue Plan Act funds as far as the allocations through essentially every local agency that I audited, because these funds primarily were either used for embezzlement or money laundering by elected officials through NGOs. And so I don't have time to go into specific examples. Feel free to read my Substack. For example, with DEMA Consulting and Management, the FBI is now investigating locally, and a lot of that is based on my research. So I'm glad to see that DEMA has not been included in that list. So with the ARPA funds, it's just crazy. I'm glad that Mr. DeWitt just spoke to our underserved areas, because that's an absolute fact. How is it that we launched all of these homeless programs and programs that supposedly service minority communities, yet the problems escalated and those communities were worse off? Where did that money go? So I've asked repeatedly, I don't know why this is such an issue, to audit the NGOs. There seems to be a refusal. It's a tax-exempt way to hide your money. My father did it very well. So I would ask, if you guys are in a budget deficit, you're in a crisis, we know this, audit the NGOs. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Mayor, I see no one else approaching the podium for public comments on this item.
Thank you, and I wanted to ask council again if they had any questions and or comments. Thank you for the presentation, but I would also like to extend our thanks to the staff that have worked really hard on getting these funds where they need to be. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
And it is now 5:11, so we are going to go back up to item 14, which is our public comment on non-agenda matters. Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. We are now taking public comments on non-agenda matters. This is a time when any person may address the council on matters not listed on the agenda, but which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. If you are in the council chamber and would like to comment but have not yet provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. We will take 12 speakers under item 14. If we have more than 12 public comments on item 14, the remaining speakers will be afforded the opportunity to speak on non-agenda matters on item 19. As you approach the podium, please state your name for public record if you choose to do so. One moment. The first speaker will be Dwayne, followed by Adina.
Hello, Dwayne DeWitt from Roseland. No graphics right now. Just good memories of how the mayor for the last 2 years has been very helpful to the entire city of Santa Rosa and has also kept an open eye on that Roseland and West Side. That's the first time a mayor has really done that for us all these years I've been coming here. So I wanted to personally thank you, plus Mr. Alvarez, because you folks have really opened up the possibilities for us to have a better community over there in the Roseland area. Now I'm going to do something that advocate, and you're going to go like, well, geez, why would he say that? Here's what's important. Did you know that we actually had the precedent set back in the past where a mayor could serve more than one term? It's there. You can see it up there on the old little video roll through you got. I'm saying you should actually keep this mayor next time around too. What the heck? That would make for a really good situation for us over there in Roseland. And I know you'll be thinking, well, you got to have the whole city, and that's important too. But hell, the whole city's always been served by the downtown people, the mayors. It's always been the people coming from the Chamber of Commerce. So us having 2 people from the West Side on the city council has been so helpful. I want to see it be even better. And I know I might not get to speak about the new candidate that comes on, so I'm going to say something now. The new elected person, she was running in the past, and we were giving her support, and I'm glad she's coming up now. All right? That's Carolyn Banuelos. So let's hear it. We're going to have a couple of Latinos on the city council for the first time in history, as far as I can look back. That's cool as hell, folks. I think there needs to be an applause. And I thank you kindly.
Next speaker, go ahead, please.
I think my clock needs, yeah. Good evening, Council. I will reserve my comments regarding the selection of our new officers until that agenda item. However, that being said, I would encourage those who are serving on this council and whoever they select as their campaign managers to treat their stakeholders with respect. Your new Assemblyman, Chris Rogers, who's not here tonight, I was actually harassed by his campaign manager, who is physically sitting here and laughing, who happens to be a white man, over the summer. He felt it was okay to get in my face and attempt to physically assault me. So I don't find that okay. Had I been a man, guess what? That wouldn't have happened. Because I'm a BIPOC woman, he felt that that was absolutely acceptable. And had he put hands on me, Matthew Calloway, Chris Rogers' campaign director, that would have ended really badly for him. I would suggest you check previous court records to see how that went when I faced domestic violence. So don't ever put a hand on me. if you're an elected official or have one of your campaign associates attempt to do so and get in my face. It won't end well. Do not ever do that. So I needed to share those words. Going back to whoever's going to be filling those seats, I appreciate Mr. DeWitt's comments regarding having Latinos join the dais. But if they're not going to do anything to actually represent the Latino community, they shouldn't be sitting there. These agendas regarding Latinx, indoctrinating the Latino community, that's coming from wealthy white Democrats. That is not coming from Latinos at the top. And so maybe there's a small select few that want to be referred to in that way. I have many friends. I speak Spanish, so I can actually communicate with these individuals who do not want to be referred to as Latinx. So again, going back to the NGOs, I see a lot of laundering, I see a lot of embezzlement, and we target voting blocks because we happen to have a large Latino community. So I would ask that we actually service the communities that we pretend to serve. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Gregory. I'd just like to remind everyone that you will have the opportunity to speak about incoming and outgoing positions and council members when we get to those items. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Rogers. My name is Gregory Farron, members of the council. It's never too early, I think, to talk about new ideas and new money. And as you know, the turn of the calendar year from 24 to 25, there's a new set of laws that comes into play in California, and in particular in California counties. I'm pleased to be serving on the Behavioral Health Board, which, as you know, right now is called the Mental Health Board, but as of January 1st, it becomes the Behavioral Health Board. It also has a new set of responsibilities. Basically, I've been telling people the way I look at it, it's going to be in charge of almost the entire health services department in the county. Instead of just being focused on the Mental Health Services Act, which we're going to be spending $47 million this year on, we're also going to be indirectly, by reason of having to put together a master plan for all of the money in the department, in charge of Measure O, opioid, about $100 million that hasn't been under our responsibility will all of a sudden be our charge to put a series of plans integrated into each other. Now, the way I look at that, it's something I've been fighting for a long time. It's going to break some silos down. It's going to be comprehensive. It's going to be an opportunity for citizens, and this is why I'm really here today. We're going to be having some hearings, and we're going to be trying to include citizens seriously in our planning. So if you've ever had an idea about what behavioral health and substance use disorder program services ought to be offered by the county, this will be your opportunity. These 15 now and hopefully 17 members of the Behavioral Health Board will be advising the Board of Supervisors on a lot of existing and potentially new services to meet the needs of our citizens. I'm here tonight to encourage all of you to keep track of the Behavioral Health Board and our hearings, because a lot of new possibilities will be offered by those funds. We've got 5 more years of Measure O. I'm on that board. There's lots of potential for integrating, providing services in a comprehensive way, and meeting needs we don't meet right now. Thank you.
Speaker on the west, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Eric Frazier, and you know me as being a frequent contributor to the Civic Dialogue. I wanted to rise just in support of the sort of retching words that I heard from Adina Flores. A lot of people recognize her as an impeccable researcher who offers up her research threads that you can verify by reading her articles on Substack. And she doesn't deserve the treatment, nobody does really. As we enter into this next phase of deeper and more prolonged research about a number of items, including the operation of nonprofits that got ARPA funds and other things. As you know, my specialty has really been watching the development of short-term rental regulations, and so as we turn the page there, what we find is an approval of a lot of permits for short-term rentals, whole house permits that are going to people that are connected to the politicians and the senior staff. We also see some other crazy things going on wherever we look in the city. So it's not okay that this happens to just private citizens that are stepping up to the plate to do their civic duty. As an Eagle Scout, I took that seriously, actually, and I was my first Eagle Scout after 25 years, the first one in my troop. I take my civic responsibility seriously, and so in understanding the crazy short-term rental regulations, it was like following one thread after another, turning one stone over after another, and you jump back and you're like, what is this? It needs to be audited more. It needs more fact basis. Well, I tell you, there's a big problem here. There's a big problem. Those ARPA funds really created a dependency. There's a big dependency on money, sloshing money out of the city budget. It's really, this is a reason why we're the highest taxed area. And while the small businesses are stomped to death here with regulation and costs, there's a reason for that. There is. So it's good that we just landed a book deal so that we can, like I said, really dig down on the research, make sure it continues to be verified. It's also worth mentioning that we'll be finding out who created a website in Adina's name to terrorize her. I think it's, again, some of the people that she pointed out before. This is what goes on, really what goes on in city government. And I'm glad there's a big crowd here to hear my words today because it's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm seeing no one else approach the podium for public comment.
Thank you. We will now move on to item 15.2. Madam City Manager.
Item 15.2 is a request for summary vacation of one public service easement located at 5608 Nuagana Avenue, parcel number 032-010-084, file number VAC 23-001.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rogers and members of the council. My name is Sichinor Bisla, and the project before you today is a summary vacation of easement located at 5608 Nuanga Avenue. The applicant seeks a summary vacation of a public service easement which was recorded in 1983. The easement has never been used for public access or for public utility access, and there are no utilities that are accessible or have been installed within the easement. The emergency vehicle access aspect will be superseded by relocation of a new emergency vehicle access easement off of Noenga Avenue. The blue shaded area that you see here is the parcel. It is located on the eastern side of the city, just south of Spring Lake. And here you see the easement proposed to be vacated. It runs along the eastern property line. That 20-foot line running from the dash line to the property line is the subject easement. Pursuant to Section 8333A of the California Streets and Highways Code, the city may summarily vacate public service easements if the easement has not been used for the purpose for which it was dedicated or acquired for 5 consecutive years immediately preceding the proposed vacation. This public service easement meets this requirement as it has never been used for public utilities or public drainage. There's no public water or sewer located within the easement. The water department has confirmed that there are no future plans for any extensions here. There are no overhead or underground utilities located within the easement. It hasn't been used for public vehicular or pedestrian access, and there is no public storm drain here. There is a private storm drain that serves 4 properties for which a new easement deed is ready to be recorded. And pursuant to Section 8333C of the California Streets and Highways Code, the city may summarily vacate public service easements if the easement has been superseded by relocation and there are no other public facilities located within the easement. The emergency vehicle access aspect of the easement has been superseded by relocation of a new emergency vehicle access easement located off of Nuenga Avenue. At the northern end of the property is where the new easement will be relocated, and the easement deed for this is ready to be recorded as well. The project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15305, as it involves minor alterations and land use limitations. It is therefore recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the Council, by resolution, approve a summary vacation of a public service easement that has not been used for the purpose for which it was dedicated, located at 5628 Nuenga Avenue. And for any questions or comments, this is my contact information. Thank you.
Thank you, and looking to council to see if there are any questions. Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment on this item?
Thank you. We are now taking public comment on item 15.2. If you are in the council chamber and would like to comment but have not provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. Mayor, I'm seeing no one approach the podium for public comments on this item.
Thank you. Bringing it back to council. Seeing no comments, I will now pass it on to Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Rosa approving summary vacation of 1 public service easement for the property located at 5608 Nuenga Court, Assessor's Parcel Number 032-210-084, File Number VAC 23-001, and waive further reading of the text.
Second. I have a motion made by Councilmember McDonald and a second by Mayor Rogers. And with that, Madam City Clerk, may you please call the vote?
Councilmember Okrepke?
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald?
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Stepp?
Aye.
Mayor Rogers?
Aye.
Let the record show this passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation again. Moving on to item 15.3, Madam City Manager.
Item 15.3, Community Advisory Board Appointment and Alignment to Council Elected Districts and Administrative Policy Amendments.
And we
Good
are ready
evening.
when you are.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor, who has just left the dais, City Manager. I'm Dina Manis, City Clerk. Joining me tonight on this presentation is Anna Horta, the Community Engagement Manager, and City Attorney Stricker will be helping with any additional questions that I may not be able to answer. So we're bringing forward a Community Advisory Board area alignment and administrative amendments to you tonight. In 2012, the City Council approved Resolution 28174 to establish the roles, duties, and areas for the Community Advisory Board. The Community Advisory Board was formed by City Charter, Section 10B, and the charter reads, the council shall establish a district commission, now called the Community Advisory Board, encompassing the entire city. The commission shall be composed of the representatives of 7 to 14 districts whose boundaries shall be established by the City Council. And that resolution from 2012 established those areas.
The 7 areas are the north area, which is north of Highway 12, the south area, south of Highway 12, the central core area. I'm not going to go into all that level of detail of what the core area boundaries are. Then we have the northeast, the northwest, the southeast, and the southwest. Those are the 7 CAB areas. They are attached as a map on your staff report, or to your staff report. In 2014, City Council adopted Resolution 28442 to provide the CAB an opportunity to review and make recommendations to Council on the awarding of community grants. In 2015, Council then adopted a resolution to delegate the award authority to the Community Advisory Board for the Community Grants Program. Currently, staff is asking that Council Policy 006 be amended to show alignment with the council-elected districts. Council Policy 06 assigns CAB areas by lot, allowing council members to voluntarily exchange assignments, and CAB is currently composed of 14 members. The policy does not align with the current council districts. Having the different district maps for CAB is additional work for both council members and staff to fill vacancies, and it's confusing for those who are applying to the Community Advisory Board. So in addition to aligning Council Policy 06, staff is recommending that a resolution be brought forward to amend the membership area and appointments to CAB to align with the council elected districts. So currently, the alignment with council districts, we have 14 members. Each council member appoints 1 CAB member at large and 1 CAB member from a CAB area. Bumble fingers tonight. Let me roll it back. I was just so excited. So staff recommends reducing membership to 7 due to the challenges of seating a 14-member board, due to a limited applicant pool and challenges of meeting quorum requirements. Currently, the quorum requirement for CAB is 8 members for business to be conducted. And then have each appointment be from each council member's elected district. If council chooses to go in this direction, staff has provided 2 transition plan options. Transition plan option 1 is council members select 1 appointee from their current appointees, prioritizing selection of those appointees from within their elected council district, but this option allows for the selection if neither appointee is currently from a council member's elected district. Upon the early of the term end, resignation, or removal by the appointing council member, council members will appoint a new CAB member from within their elected district boundaries. With option 1, the districts 2, 5, and 6 may remain unrepresented until term end or until replacement by the appointing council member. And 4 board members from CAB would conclude their service on the CAB. Option 1 allows for all 7 CAB seats to be filled immediately, and as new CAB council members are elected or existing council members re-elected, full council elected district representation could be realized by the beginning of 2027. Option 2 is where we suggest council members appoint from within their council districts immediately. This leaves remaining seats vacant until filled from the appointee from within their elected council district. In this option, it allows for appointments to districts 1, 3, 4 to be assumed immediately based on currently seated board members. Districts 5 and 7 could be filled by currently seated board members serving under a different council member, and districts 2 and 6 would be unrepresented and leave the CAB with 2 vacancies until new appointments are selected. 5 current CAB members would then conclude their service on CAB. This option might bring CAB membership to representation by council districts sooner if applications are promptly received for districts 2 and 6. Some additional amendments to CAB bylaws or rules of engagement is establishing quorum requirements. We would align, if the council so chooses to go to a 7-member composition, 4 members shall constitute a quorum of the board, which must be present for the transaction in business,
for the transaction of any business, and a vote by the majority of the quorum is required to pass a motion. And I think there is some cleanup language on the resolution that we will note at that time, but for a motion to pass, it will be a majority of those present and voting to pass a motion. So the corresponding cleanup to council policy is being recommended, and then some modest administrative cleanups and corrections to include upgrade of the word citizens to residents to align with the 2022 Charter Amendment language modernization, amendment to the reference of District Commission to the Community Advisory Board, removal of references to boards and commissions that are no longer active, update names of boards that have been renamed, like the formerly known as Measure O Citizens Oversight Committee is now the Public Safety and Prevention Citizens Oversight Committee, PSAP, COC, and then update to training recommendations and requirements. Some other items would be to clean up some language that requires residents to be registered voters. Requiring members to be registered voters is no longer allowed per SB 174 for generosities, and our charter does not require or identify that members are required to be registered voters, so that's another cleanup item that we'd like to address while doing the CAB cleanup. So it is recommended by the city clerk's office, the city manager's office, the city attorney's office, and the community engagement manager that council, by 2 resolutions and 1 motion, adopt a resolution to amend the Community Advisory Board membership, geographic boundaries, and area-specific appointments to align with city council elected districts, reduce the composition of CAB to 7 members, establish quorum requirements to 4 members present to conduct business, and add clarifying language of the passing of motions. The second resolution is to amend Council Policy 06, appointments to boards, commissions, committees, sections G2E, to align CAB membership, geographic boundaries, and area-specific appointments with city council elected districts, and address other administrative cleanup. And by motion, approve either option 1 or option 2 of the recommended CAB appointment transition plan. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Looking to council to see if there are any questions on this item. Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Dina. I just had a quick question. If we were to go with option 2, off the top of your head, do you know how many seats would be vacant on CAB for the delay of business?
2 seats would be vacant if we go to option 2. And we currently, I printed up in one of my attachments.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were reading off which ones would be vacant, so that's okay. You don't have to tell me which ones they would be.
It would be districts 2 and 6 would be vacant.
Okay, thank you. Because of where their current CAB positions are, appointees are in the jurisdiction.
They
are not in
District
the
2 and District 6, they do not have any appointees within their district.
But
And there are
option 1, we would have time for them to be able to be appointed, and then for them to find somebody in their jurisdiction in the next round.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
And I will note that we have approximately 11 applications on file for the Community Advisory Board. We have 1 for District 2 and none for District 6 currently, and that has been one of the challenges for filling district-specific positions, and I have a feeling that's why council hasn't gone that across the entire appointments process. And it's just specific to CAB that we're moving in this direction because of the nature of the language in the charter.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yeah, thank you. I read the presentation, I listened to you tell it. I still have a couple clarifying questions. Under both scenarios, we would reduce the membership from 14 to 7, or only under one of the 2 scenarios?
In both, they would be reduced to 7.
Okay, and in both of the 2 scenarios, eventually the membership would be specifically from the districts?
Yes.
Okay, so the real difference between the 2 is the implementation timeline?
Yes, so the difference between option 1 allows CAB to have all seats filled immediately. In districts 2 and 6,
they would still have representation because those who are appointed by those district council members would come in with the intention of representing those two districts, even though they do not live there. And then this allows council members in districts 2 and 6 to either seek out new appointees through the application process and recruitment efforts, or allow them to serve through the end of their term.
Okay.
Are there any additional questions from council members? Seeing none, Madam Deputy City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment on this item?
Thank you, Mayor. We are now taking public comment on item 15.3. If you are in the council chamber and would like to comment but have not provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of the period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. First up will be Gregory, followed by Callum, and then Dwayne. Hold on one moment, please. Okay, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor. Mayor Rogers and members of the council. You've seen me for years complain in my subtle way about the cab. And my chief complaint is being resolved today, if you can. First of all, the reason I think you don't get a whole lot of people who want to be on it is you've never really been clear as to what it's about. It's complicated by having too many people, and because even those that are on, in my opinion, have been somewhat scattered in what they thought it ought to be. Getting a quorum to a meeting is easy if the meeting matters. If going to a meeting is going to help your community, you'll be there. And it's been my experience that CAB hasn't had that kind of passion. I think you'll get that passion if you make CAB representative of the community and useful to you. So I'm here tonight to ask you to follow through quickly in whatever way you choose to find people who I know are in the community who want to help you serve the community. And I applaud your efforts to try to figure out a way of doing it as quickly as possible. But pay fealty to having people who know their community, know your district, and will help you and the council meet the needs of the district. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Callum, followed by Dwayne, and then Eric.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. It probably comes as no surprise that I have some thoughts on this item. Thank you so much for bringing this forward and for doing the work and bringing forward that report today. You know, I have a lot of gratitude for my fellow CAB members, and so it's really hard to kind of stake out this position because they're all wonderful human beings, volunteers, you know, coming out, serving the community, and so I appreciate everything that they do. But I do think for the sake of efficiency and the light and low to make things, you know, easier for Ms. Horta and the rest of the staff, I think option 2 might be best. You know, it is true. We've struggled to some extent with achieving quorum and moving forward our mission. I know we can do it. And I think if we get to the 7 people and if we start focusing on the things that we were chartered to do, I think we can really actually make an impact this year. And so that is why I am leaning towards option 2, again, just to create efficiencies and really allow us to start moving forward, get this ship sailing. So thank you very much again. I appreciate all the work you're doing, and I really look forward to seeing what we can do in 2025.
Thank you. Next up is Dwayne, followed by Eric. Sure, 1 minute, please.
Thanks. Hello, Dwayne DeWitt from Roseland. Once again, I show you this map from 1898, and I clarify that this right here is the railroad, and that's the railroad depot. This is west side, this is east side, and the other side of the tracks, for the entire length that Santa Rosa's been around, has been getting the short end of the stick. So I'm one of those guys that went to the first meetings of what was called the Community Action Team back almost 30 years ago, when the city was basically brought to task because they weren't having diversity. They did not have what you might call a diversity of opinion even. So let's get a closer look at that right now, okay? Let's just see, has any of this actually been helped by having this community advisory board? Actually, I would say no. And I went to meetings all through these years, and basically the idea was that it would be the people at the bottom, the community would be able to bring forward the actions they wanted, and then the council members would be able to hear about it and work with them. Instead, you've developed a bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy serves itself pretty much. It gets some money and it throws some things around, but it really hasn't served the original mandate, if you will. You can look back in the records, back to the Community Action Team. One of my friends was chosen to be on it. He was an attorney. He is an attorney, excuse me. He chose not to keep up with it after a while because he said, hey, they just want a rubber stamp group. They just want people to do what the elected officials already got going on. And basically, because we're going to be broke for the next few years, let's abolish this. Let's just stop. No more money being spent on it. No more having to deal with it. Save that money. Our elected officials will be the ones that we go to directly. You don't have to have staff working on this stuff. You don't have to go through all these bureaucratic maneuvers. It would save us time, save us money, and in the long run, I do believe we might get more done. We might even get some sidewalks over here on this west side by working with the folks that are here on the council. When we get these projects that go through the CAB, as they call it now, frequently you might not get that money even if some staff member says, oh, well, we don't think we're going to give it to them. That happened to Roseland when they got the volunteers together to put in a fence along Southwest Community Park, got the matching grant, got the materials, everything together, and then a staff member said, oh, no, we don't want to do that. Said it at the last minute, lost all those volunteers, abolished the CAB.
Thank you. Next up will be Eric.
Yes, thank you, Eric Fraser again, and thank you for your patience and listening to me a couple times. I've been involved in CAB a couple times. Pre-fires, I put together an application for $2,500 to get a mural painted on the side of a parking structure that was facing into our greater Cherry Street neighborhood. It was quite an ordeal, but it was fun, and it created a community group of all volunteers. We opened a bank account to handle the money for the mural, but it's been sort of inactive. Not our volunteers and not community spirit, but just this is really meant to be grassroots. I applaud this issue coming forward, I guess, in that it's obvious that you'd want to align CAB with the district boundaries. That seems to be pretty obvious. I think option 3, which if we were given a moment to think about it, I do like Dwayne's idea of maybe putting this on pause because it's a horrendous mess, as I'll explain in a moment. But option 3 maybe should be having 2 people from each district, but one serves to contribute to that quorum, the other is an alternate in case they can't make that meeting. That's how important CAB should be and how important grassroots involvement should be in the community. So it's always suspicious to me when you're always trying to cut off the grassroots. You attack the researchers, you attack the whistleblowers, and hear shifty stuff in CAB. Let me explain what happened to me. In fact, we should clarify a couple things. Number one, I think when you change the charter, you have to have an election of the voters. Number two, it was always, once you establish the quorum, the majority from that quorum is what passes a vote. Well, let me tell you, when I went back to CAB a few months ago, my neighbors were like, hey, COVID's over, let's put together a community event. So I'm like, okay, I guess, yeah, hurrah, knowing what I know about the city, hurrah, I'll do it. I did it. The people on CAB were accommodating. That meeting a couple months ago, there's 8 people. We made a quorum from 14. Then the vote came in, 7 votes for in favor of this funding, 1 against. The city attorney said, oh, no, you don't pass. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was never anything other than a majority vote of those that made the quorum. And even though I do love the people that work on CAB, I have to say that another big problem we have is that the city council has a tendency, not always, but it has a tendency to vote special interests on CAB, if that's not bad enough. People that get government money at their nonprofits, they're employees of a nonprofit that gets government money, and their butt is taking up a chair. So I'd say that Dwayne's suggestion to put it on ice might be great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to say that I have seen a tremendous improvement with the Community Advisory Board. So kudos to the staff for making a presence at those meetings. I think we need to talk about where we started, at least in the past year, and why these amendments are necessary. As of July, I began attending those meetings, and after the first meeting, I realized, after reflecting through archives of minutes, that the board was giving grants primarily to themselves who were serving on the board, as well as their friends and family members and their personal nonprofits. So again, with the NGOs, there's a huge monopoly, and I have an issue with that because it's not fair. And community involvement and grassroots organizing is one of the most important, or is the most important part of government, is for stakeholders to have a voice. And so with these amendments, I appreciate the inquiries brought forth by Councilwoman McDonald. I had those same questions regarding the vacancies, and I think it's absolutely essential to amend the quorum to be at, well, to have 7 sitting on the board for first and foremost, and then the quorum to be according to that 7 seats. And so if we were to do that, we'd have a lot less canceled meetings. Right now, I don't know how many times I've seen that the meetings have been postponed because there's no quorum. And so for your grant applicants, that places a great difficulty on them because they're awaiting funds and they can't get those funds until they've been approved by the board. So I would again encourage us to make sure that we are reaching the most broad spectrum of stakeholders that we can. I've personally seen in attendance at recent meetings both the city manager and city attorney to make sure that the meetings are flowing according to the way the agenda should go. And that was at no fault of the staff. However, the last meeting I went to, I did have several applicants who were present, and they were baffled by how poorly the meeting was ran. I know that Chair Weeks has been on the Community Advisory Board for a while, but he really struggled to run through an agenda. I don't know what the difficulty was, so that might need to be revisited. I believe, former Vice Chair Barnett, she did a fabulous job stepping in when necessary. So we may need to revisit how to run a meeting, which is basic, basic part of being involved in government. So thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Are you wishing to speak? Okay, hold on one moment.
Can you hear me? Yeah, there we
Yes.
go. Hi, I'm Janice Carmen. I just ran for city council. I was the only person that I know of that was running against an incumbent. I learned many things while I was running, and I had many people speak to me about issues and complications that they had. This language is extremely complicated. It was presented by Dina, who is the county clerk, and she's a very well-educated person, and she's very succinct with what she does, but she covered it very quickly, and it was hard to catch all the language. The people that are here are the people who get here, but the people that need to be here are the people that have the complaints out there and don't know who to turn to, who are not being taken care of, and who, like Dwayne described, have been talking about things for a long time. They don't get looked at. When Mr. Farron was talking about passing this immediately, I think that the language is too complicated. Just 6 months ago or so, the city council could not figure out how to or what to do with people who weren't showing up to vote. That's been a big problem, and I'm not sure if it's been fixed yet or not, but this is a similar thing, and I would ask that you put this on hold and let the public review what you're talking about, and let the public come and know what you're actually trying to do. And that's all I'm going to say, but thank you. And Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you all have a very happy holiday.
Thank you. I'm seeing no one else approach the podium for public comment.
Thank you. Bringing it back to council to see if there are any questions. We'll start off with Councilmember Okrepke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for the presentation. I lean towards option one just because of the vacancies, and selfishly, I just appointed somebody like 3 months ago that would lose their position, and I'd hate to start from square one. I'd like to be able to ease into it. So for me, it's option one. As for some of the concerns about what it is that CAB does, I know that we've had discussions with the Open Government Task Force about their responsibilities and the overlap and how that can be merged. And so I think that would bring some priority to CAB meetings and to the desire to attend those meetings and serve on that board. So I'd like to see option one.
Thank you. Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor. City Clerk, I do have a question for you, and maybe this is a question for the City Attorney, which is CAB is one of our few boards or commissions that is part of our city charter, and as such, I'm not clear if the city charter provides for any language that requires us to have X amount of members on the board appointed at any given time. Is that at the discretion of the council, or is that in the charter?
Let me pull up the charter language. One moment.
Madam City Attorney, if you have an answer.
Yes, the charter provides that you can have between 7 and 14 members, so it is the council's discretion anywhere between those numbers. So it would be a charter compliant change that staff is bringing forward.
And would it be charter compliant to have a member and an alternate member?
I think that in terms of a transition plan, you may be able to do that. I think in terms of moving forward, I would probably have to look at it a little bit more carefully if what you're thinking is long-term to have a member and an alternate member.
Okay, thank you. I'm agnostic as to whether it's option one or two. If my colleagues find that it's advantageous to go with option one, I'm in support of that. I want to make sure that we provide for operational ease for staff and for our community to make sure we get the grants out the door and that our quorums are met. I think that, I'll save my comments about districts for the next item when we welcome our new council member and do our transition. But for those who are not aware, although I think many people in this room would understand that this board is here with us by charter because we did not have districts and because districts was not something that councils of decades ago were interested in looking at. And so my angst, which might have occurred, a few years ago or 10 years ago about whether or not each member was appointed from each district is somewhat eased, although I think that we should all do our best to have eyes and ears on the grounds in our districts. So I'm going to be supporting whatever the majority of my council members go for, and I do urge us to consider having alternates to make sure that we meet quorum.
Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that doing option one makes the most sense so that we can have 7 members right away and that we have the time for our other council members to find representation from each of the districts. And now that we are in districts, the importance of that and having representation from each of our districts for this particular committee, I think, is also something we should strive to achieve. So I'm happy to support that. I think anytime we can streamline government to reduce the herding of cats, which I feel like sometimes we have to do when you have so many members on a committee, is always helpful for the time that staff has to take. I think one of the things I would like to see us do as we start to appoint members again into the new year and after the elections is to be really clear and transparent about what it takes to serve on the committees, the forms that people need to fill out, the 700 forms, and the majority of what we can provide up front so they know what they're getting into, I think would be helpful helpful, I think, for me as a council member to be able to give that over so that it is really clear what a conflict of interest would be if they are serving on the committee. I think that's incumbent upon us as a city to give that information. So I think it would be very helpful to me when I'm talking to folks that have that interest. And I just want to say thanks for the work on this and streamlining the process so we can still have engagement, but making sure that we're doing our best work. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Alvarez?
I'll be supportive of option number one, as I figure that this is where we can get the ball rolling and also ease into the program. And for me, I think I'm happiest that Councilmember Fleming and I don't have to figure out who's representing our district after the district elections happen. So I'm glad we got a chance to clear that. So I appreciate the staff's work on that. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Stapp?
I wanted to thank the city staff for all the work they've done on this. It's been a lot of time over the last several months. I also want to thank Chair Cal Weeks. A lot of time and energy for you too. Thanks for your leadership on the Community Advisory Board. I represent District 2, one of the districts affected by this. My representative does not live in my district, but Ariana Diaz de Leon has done a wonderful job. I would hate to lose her any sooner than I needed to, so I'm certainly in favor of option 1 as well.
I have a question. So my question is, council members will appoint from within their elected council district boundaries upon a term ending. Does that count as today?
No. So if your currently seated appointee resigns or you choose to put in somebody else, that is when you would put in your next appointee. If you're not choosing from an existing appointment, will need to be from your district.
Okay. And I'd just like to point out that it historically has been, Southwest Santa Rosa has been underrepresented. And I think that is because we don't have enough people that are stepping up that would like to volunteer. And for those that do step up to volunteer, thank you for those that are in the audience. Sometimes it is difficult for them to do so also for unnamed reasons. So,
and there is a full council chamber, so I am going to take this opportunity. If anybody is interested in applying for a board or commission, you can go to srcity.org/boards. After hearing this conversation, if your interest is piqued, please check it out.
I like how you put that plug in. So I will not go against what the rest of the council has decided, although I did want to let you know that it is very difficult at times to get someone from Southwest Santa Rosa, even more so these days from some of the things that have been going on. It's really hard to get volunteers or people that want to volunteer. And with that, I will hand it over to Madam City Attorney.
I'm just going to sneak in here. I'm sorry. So I wanted to clarify the recommended language on Resolution 1. My recommendation is that on paragraph 5 of Resolution 1, the voting language be changed to read as follows. A vote by a majority of the Community Advisory Board members present is required to pass a motion. For all other voting matters not covered here, Rosenberg's Rules of Order shall apply. That is a little bit different than what the staff report says and what our clerk said at the table. So that is the recommendation of staff. What that would mean is if someone is abstaining, they are essentially counted as a no vote. That helps us avoid some things passing on just a bare small amount. So using Rosenberg's rules, that would mean that if one person abstained, they are there, they count, they're present. Not recuse. Recuse is different. That's when you leave the room because you have a conflict. Abstain is just a choice not to vote. If someone abstains, they would be counted as present. and their vote, if they choose to abstain, is effectively a no. And so that would make it very clear. So in Rosenberg's parlance, which applies here, that's what that would mean.
And Councilmember Alvarez, before I hand it over to you, I just want to say, was that for the resolution 1 or 2?
That's resolution 1, and it's a change to paragraph 5.
And that makes it a lot easier, Councilmember Alvarez, because you can just say what she said.
Thank you for clarifying that, Madam Mayor. With that said, I have 2 resolutions for council's consideration as well as 1 motion. And I will read the first resolution. Resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Rosa amending geographic areas for the Community Advisory Board area specific appointments, and that is with the amendment suggested by City Attorney in paragraph 5, and waive further reading of the text.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilmember Alvarez and a second by Councilmember McDonald. Yes. And with that, Madam Deputy City Clerk, may you please call the vote?
Councilmember Okrepke.
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald.
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Stapp.
Aye.
Mayor Rogers.
Aye.
The motion passes with 6 affirmative votes.
Through the chair, being that we've just passed the first resolution, is the second resolution still necessary? Very well.
Yes, it is.
With that, I'd like to present the second resolution. Resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Rosa amending Council Policy Number 000-06, appointments to boards, commissions, committees, to amend certain provisions for appointments to the Community Advisory Board and portions of policy for administrative updates, and waive further reading of the text.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilmember Alvarez and a second by Councilmember Fleming. With that, Madam Deputy City Clerk, may you please call the vote?
Councilmember Okrepke.
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald.
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Stapp.
Aye.
Mayor Rogers.
Aye.
The motion passes with 6 affirmative votes.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve option 1, cab appointment transition plan.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilmember Alvarez and a second by Councilmember McDonald. Madam Deputy City Clerk, may you please call the vote?
Councilmember Okrepke.
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald.
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Stapp.
Aye.
Mayor Rogers.
Aye.
The motion passes with 6 affirmative votes.
Thank you both for the presentation, and thank you again for working so diligently on this.
Thank you, Council.
And we're moving on to, we have no public hearings, no written communications. So moving on to item 18, and we'll start off with 18.1. Madam City Manager.
Item 18.1, declaration of results for the general municipal election held on Tuesday, November the 5th, 2021 for 1, the purpose of electing members for 4 district-based offices of the City Council for Districts 1, 3, 5, and 7, each for a full term of 4 years, and 2, submitting to the voters Measure EE related to the City of Santa Rosa Business Tax Measure and Measure FF relating to the City of Santa Rosa Transit Occupancy Tax Measure.
Thank you, Council. Mayor, Vice Mayor, all of Council, City Manager, Dean Amana, City Clerk, and I will be making the presentation tonight. The November 5th, 2024 general municipal election was held pursuant to the City of Santa Rosa Charter, Section 30. Sonoma County Registrar of Voters has canvassed the returns of the election and has certified the results. Following the completion of the canvass of votes and before installing new officers, the City Council must adopt a resolution declaring election results for Council Districts 1, 3, 5, and 7, and for City Measure EE and City Measure FF. And as City Manager Smith just read, it is recommended by the City Clerk that the Council by resolution, 1, recite the fact and declare the results of the Consolidated General Municipal Election held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Declare as elected to the City Council, each for a full term of 4 years, Eddie Alvarez for District 1, Diana McDonald for District 3, Caroline Banuelos for District 5, and Natalie Rogers for District 7. And declare as approved by the voters, City of Santa Rosa Measure EE, City of Santa Rosa Business Tax Measure, and Measure FF, City of Santa Rosa Transient Occupancy Tax Measure. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Looking to council to see if there are any questions on this item. Seeing none, Madam Deputy City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. We are now taking public comment on item 18.1. If you are in the council chamber and would like to comment but have not provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You have 3 minutes, and a countdown timer will alert at the end of the period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. Give me 1 minute and I'll get the timer up.
My name is Adina Flores, and my research partner, Eric Frazier, and I wrote a rebuttal and counter argument to EE and FF to increase our business taxes. I requested for the city to audit who currently is operating a business within city limits and not paying taxes, because there's a multitude of businesses that are not paying their fair share of taxes. The city had no interest in doing that. So I'm just wondering why you would add an additional tax burden to your stakeholders before auditing the businesses that should be paying regardless. So I have taken it upon myself to do that work for you, and I will be presenting that data along with my research partner. And so if the city still refuses to take action at that point, then I have a lot of questions. And again, I'm not sure why that wasn't done originally. There was literature that was sent out. I believe the city spent around $40,000 in support of EE and FF. While you claim the language was generalized, it was absolutely to persuade the voters to vote in favor based on the photos and the language that you used. And so I personally don't want my tax dollars going towards tax increases when there's favoritism and certain businesses are not paying their fair share. So then, furthermore, it looks like you were protecting those businesses who are not paying their fair share. So why is that? Thank you. God bless.
Are we having anyone else you're wishing to speak? Okay, 1 moment, please. Please go ahead.
Hi, excuse me, sorry about that. Hi, my name's Raj Kaur, and I'm a physician and a developer of a new memory care home out in Santa Rosa. We're looking to bring lifestyle medicine and wellness into the senior care space, and specifically with memory care. I'd like to acknowledge City Council member Diana McDonald, who's really been supportive of our project from day one. She presented at our groundbreaking event and has always been there to, lend us a helping hand. We recently had a significant delay in our building permit process, and only after getting Council member Diana McDonald involved were we able to identify a 30-day delay, which was completely unnecessary. I'm happy to say that with her involvement, after 24 hours, we were able to get the project back on course, and we're now looking to get approval as soon as possible. I really believe that Diana McDonald has the best interest of the city at heart and really looks out for not only the seniors, but even the future generations of our community and for small business, which I think is super important for our city to progress and develop in the future. So I wanted to give her some props today and really acknowledge her support, her commitment to the city, and her commitment to our project. So thank you, Diana. I really do appreciate you, and I think you'd be a great next mayor for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on just 1 moment.
And I would like to remind everyone, this item is just to certify the results, not about mayor or vice mayor or any of that.
Please go ahead. Are you wishing to speak?
Yeah, is that on? Mayor Rogers and members of the council, I want to thank the county elections officer for such an excellent election. And beyond that, I want to thank the voters of Santa Rosa for selecting some excellent candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm seeing no one else approach the podium for public comment.
All right, bringing it back to council to see if there are any questions and or comments on this item. Seeing none, Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Clerk, for all of the work that you put into this election. I'd like to make a few comments before reading this item. My first is going to be a big thank you to Diva Marie Proto and all the staff, both at the city and the county, who make free, fair, and reliable elections a mainstay and something that we don't have to question here in Sonoma County. It's something that I'm really proud of and that we're really lucky to have here. So that's the first point. Right, it is, yeah. The second thing is a huge congratulations to all of my colleagues, whether they were running uncontested or opposed. Each one of my 4 colleagues who are being sworn in tonight won by a landslide. So congratulations to each of you. Well done. The third thing is about our history, which we touched on a little bit with our Community Advisory Board review tonight, which is that it was not that long ago that we did not have district elections. And the Community Advisory Board was devised as a method, and really an ineffective method to address that. And it wasn't until in the wake of the fires that the city of Santa Rosa got the dreaded letter. And for the uninitiated, the letter is essentially threatening a lawsuit that if you don't go to district elections, you're going to be sued and you will lose. And so the city wisely decided to institute district elections. And shortly thereafter, I was the first person elected directly from a district. And tonight, we will have a full set of 7 members of the city council elected directly to districts and never from an at-large position. And this is an achievement for which we should be proud. So with that, we each have our own constituencies, and I hope that while we do our very best to represent the people who send us here, that we remember at all times that the consequences of our actions here, our votes, impact not only our constituents in our districts, but the city and more broadly the county and the region. And that while our number one responsibility is to our constituents, that we always strive to look for areas of commonality and work across our districts with decency, always looking for ways that we can collaborate and make more rather than less, and try not to get engaged in zero-sum politics. So I'm so proud, and with that, I'll end my comments and read a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Rosa reciting the fact of the general municipal election held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, declaring the results and such other matters as provided by law, and waive further reading of the text.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilmember Fleming and a second by Councilmember Okrepke. Madam Deputy City Clerk, may you please call the vote?
Councilmember Okrepke?
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald?
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Stapp?
Aye.
Mayor Rogers?
Aye.
The motion passes with 6 affirmative votes.
Thank you. All right, and we're going to move on to item 18.2, and I will pass it on to Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. We are now going to have the oaths of offices executed by the council members who are just now certified. And I'd like to call up Councilmember Eddie Alvarez to come in front of the dais and read your oath of office. And we'll do a little back and forth with the microphone. Absolutely. Okay. So please repeat after me. I, Eddie Alvarez, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the United States of. Actually, it's a little bit different from the one that you read in the paper. But I'll repeat: the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that
I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. This is subscribed and sworn to me before this 17th day of December 2024 in Santa Rosa, California.
This is subscribed and sworn to before me on the 17th day of December 2024 in Santa Rosa, California.
Thank you, Councilmember Alvarez. Welcome back.
It's like we were singing the song.
Next, I'd like to call up Councilmember Diana McDonald. Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. I believe this is an older version, a different one, so we will go back and forth with this, okay? And I will hold it. You can tell me where the best location is for this. So I, Diana McDonald.
I, Diana McDonald,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Subscribed and sworn to me this 17th day of December 2024 in Santa Rosa, California.
Subscribed and sworn to you before this 17th day of December 2024 in Santa Rosa, California.
Congratulations, Councilmember McDonald. Welcome back. Next, I'd like to call down our newly elected council member for District 5, Caroline Banuelos. Thank you for joining us tonight. So I'm going to hold this up to the best of our ability and just repeat after me. I, Caroline Banuelos.
I, Caroline Banuelos.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies.
Against all enemies.
Foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States.
To the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And to the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties upon which I am about to enter.
The duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Subscribed and sworn to before me the 17th day of December 2024 in Santa Rosa, California.
Subscribed and sworn to before me this 17th day of December 2024 in Santa Rosa, California.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Banuelos. Thank you for joining us. And I'd like to invite you Thank you, everyone. I'd like to invite Councilmember Banuelos to join us at the dais. Lastly, I'd like to call Mayor Rogers. Hi, Mayor Rogers, Councilmember Rogers. District 7, please join me in reciting your oath of office. Please repeat after me. I, Natalie Rogers.
I, Natalie Rogers,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
That I will support and defend.
that I will support and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California
Against all enemies.
against all enemies,
Foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
To the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I will take this obligation freely.
that I will take this obligation freely
Without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Subscribed and sworn to before me this 17th day of December 2024 in Santa Rosa, California.
Subscribed and sworn to before me this 17th day of December 2024 in Santa Rosa, California.
Congratulations, Councilmember Rogers. Welcome back.
Good thing I made it back. That would have been awkward. I don't know who your mayor would have been. All right. So we now have to take public comment on this item. Madam Deputy City Clerk, may you please facilitate?
Thank you, Mayor. We are now taking public comment on item 18.2. If you are in the chamber and would like to comment but have not provided a speaker card or your name, please make your way to the podium. You have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of the period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. First up will be Dwayne. Oh, hold on one moment.
Hold on, Dwayne.
First time I got extra talk in. All right. My name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland. Congratulations to all of you that have won. I'm especially glad that Ms. Banuelos has been able to come forward. She's been working on it and working on it and working on it for a long time, all throughout our community, helping us a bunch. And the same with all of you and what you're all doing. I wish you all the best. I know we'll get a better future as we face some challenges. So with that in mind, I'm here to help, even though it might seem I'm a bit of a bother at times. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak? Mayor, I'm seeing no one else approach the podium on this item.
All right. So now we will move on to 18.3, which is the item that we have all been waiting for. But before we do so, I would like to provide my farewell as mayor. Good evening, everyone. It has been an incredible honor to serve the city of Santa Rosa as your mayor over the past 2 years. Tonight, I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to our community, our dedicated city staff, and my colleagues on the council for your unwavering support during this time. Serving as your mayor has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. From meeting with our hardworking staff and visiting juvenile hall, speaking at schools, and engaging with our faith-based community, I have truly cherished every opportunity to connect with the people who make Santa Rosa so special. As my term as mayor comes to an end, I would be lying if I said I wasn't feeling emotional. However, I am also filled with excitement for the next chapter and for the many ways I can continue to serve the residents of Santa Rosa. While my title may change, my accessibility, love, dedication, and commitment to the city of Santa Rosa remains the same. The list of people to thank is far too great, but please know how deeply grateful I am for each of you and every one of you. Your support, encouragement, and partnership have meant the world to me. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Cher in the city manager's office, Councilmember Alvarez, Councilmember McDonald, and the city manager, Markeisha Smith, for your support and guidance throughout this transition. Your partnership has been invaluable, and I deeply appreciate all that you have done to guide me through this process. It's not often that you'll hear me patting myself on the back, but as I look around our beautiful city, I feel proud of the work we've accomplished together. I believe we have made a lasting impact, and I am confident in the bright future ahead of Santa Rosa. Thank you all for your trust and support. It has been an honor to serve as your mayor. I look forward to continuing to serve this incredible community in the years to come. Lastly, I would like to thank my husband and my children for their unwavering support. Taking on this responsibility is one thing as an individual without a young family, but to do so with a busy and growing family is quite another. Andre, thank you for your love. Thank you for your love, kindness, and compassion throughout this journey. Some marriages face challenges during commitments like public office, but ours has only grown stronger. I love you, and I am so grateful for everything you have done to support me. Andre, Taylor, Tiana, Lonnie, Draquan, Kai, Walia, Tylen, and Jalen, and yes, those are all my children and my husband. You are my foundation, and I could not have done this without you. Thank you all. Whew. I'm messing up my makeup and I don't ever wear it, so. And now we will proceed with the election of our mayor. And I will hand it over to Madam City Attorney.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Madam Outgoing Mayor, and council members, and welcome, Council Member Benuelos. I'm here to give a presentation on your election process for mayor and vice mayor. The process is identical. I'm going to talk about it in the context of your election of your mayor, but just know you get to do this twice, and you will follow the same process when it comes to electing a vice mayor. So it is recommended by the city attorney and the city clerk that the now newly comprised council elect a mayor and then a vice mayor as required by the city charter and the city council manual of procedures and protocols. Okay. The election of your mayor and vice mayor is set forth in Charter Sections 6 and 15, and that requires that immediately after you seat your new council, that the newly comprised council elect one of its members to serve as mayor for a 2-year term, and another member to serve as vice mayor for a 1-year term, or until a successor mayor or vice mayor is chosen. Section 15 of the city charter and the council manual of procedures and protocols provide for what those procedures are. Okay. So under the manual that I just mentioned, I'm going to walk through what your procedures are. Your outgoing mayor serves as the presiding officer for the election of the mayor. And she will call, when we get to that place, that's not right now yet, she will call for nominations for a new mayor. Each nomination must receive a second and must be accepted by the nominee. So this process will have your outgoing mayor essentially collecting all of the nominations up front. Once all of the nominations have been given and that process is over, if only one council member has been nominated, then your outgoing mayor will declare that individual to be the newly elected mayor by unanimous consent and hand over the gavel at that point. If we have 2 or more members who have been nominated, and again nominated and seconded with and have accepted, then the election is by a process of elimination, and I'm going to walk through what that process looks like. Each council member is to vote for a number of nominees that equals 1 fewer than the total number of nominees. So for example, if we have 3 nominees, we would start the process with each council member voting for 2 nominees. If we had 4 nominees, you would start the process with each council member voting for 3 nominees, and so on. Then your rules and protocols provide that your voting is not by roll call, which is how we do most of the voting here at the dais. Instead, it's done by ballot. What that means is that the clerk will hand you a ballot, you will write down your vote, and when you're finished, the clerk will collect the ballot and then we will read them out loud so that we are sharing with each of you as well as the public. We would then tally the votes and move forward. So that's how that part of the process works. If any of the nominees receive 1 vote or no votes, then that nominee is eliminated. Whether or not anyone is eliminated, we then move on to the next round, with subsequent votes being taken by ballot, with council voting for 1 fewer nominee than it voted for in the last round. So to go back to my prior example, where we had, my last example, where we had 4 nominees, your first round of voting would be each council member voting for 3 nominees. If we get to a second round, then each council member would vote for 2 nominees, and so on. Once a single nominee receives a majority vote, then the presiding officer, again our outgoing mayor, will declare that nominee the newly elected mayor and then pass the gavel on. A majority vote in that context means if we are in a place where all of you were voting for 1 person, it would mean 4 of you. That would be at least 4 of you. If we are earlier up in this process and have multiple nominees and you all are voting for multiples, a majority vote is a majority of the votes cast. So if we think about a really large option where you had 5 nominees, our first round of voting would be each of you voting for 4 of the 5. 4 times 7 is 28. So a majority would mean that someone would need 15 votes, which is not possible since there are only 7 of you, but that's what that rule would mean. I'm going to back up for a second. There are a few additional nuances I want to add just to make sure everyone is clear. That if we are in a situation where we have multiple nominees and you are then under your rule permitted to vote for more than 1 person, you would have to vote, you can't vote for the same person twice in that round. So in an example where we have 3 nominees, each of you can vote for 2. The rule provides that you shall vote for 2. You can't vote for the same person twice. You would be voting for 2 different nominees. If you do vote for the same person twice in that round, we would need to disqualify your ballot. That means it doesn't count. So very important rule to remember. It can't be fixed at the end. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about your rule. It is possible that your rules can leave you stuck. The existing rules do not provide a process for council to move forward in every option, and you all have experienced that in the past. And so the place where you could potentially get stuck, even if we follow the rules, and we're going to essentially narrate our rules if we get into multiple voting rounds. So you all, I'll remind you where we are in the process, how many votes that the rule is requiring you to take. But if you get to a place where you're stuck, and where that happens is where you've gotten down to 3 nominees, and in the case where you have a 3-2-2 vote, so 3 nominees, 1 gets 3 votes, and 2 get 2 votes each. We can't disqualify either of the 2 votes because your rule provides for disqualification only if a nominee receives 0 votes or 1 vote. So you get stuck. We don't have a majority with any vote. You would need 4 or more. At that point, you all would need to figure out how to move forward if you're stuck. And so I'm making a recommendation. It's only a recommendation. This is your process. And the council would need to decide how to move beyond that stuck place. So my recommendation, if you find yourself with a 3-2-2 vote and you're stuck, would be for council to do essentially a runoff vote with the 2 lowest vote getters, to do it by ballot, the way we're going to do the rest of this process, and to then eliminate one of the 2 nominees who are tied with the lowest votes. I'm also going to recommend that if you do decide to adopt a process to get unstuck, that before you undertake that process, that you adopt a motion setting forth what that process is going to be, and that motion be passed by at least a majority of you. So we're all clear what the rule will be for this evening as to not getting stuck. Now, whether you do that now or you wait until you get stuck, I leave to you, but that would be my recommendation as to how to get unstuck if it should happen. Are there any other questions that council might have at this point about the process?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to, I understood the part of if a candidate is repeated on a ballot, that ballot is nullified. If a council member decides to vote for only 1 or 2 options, will that ballot also be nullified?
So, and that's a very good question. And so in the situation where we're in the process and you all, your rule provides that you all should vote for more than 1 nominee. So in my example where you have 3 nominees, we're in the first round, each of you, your rule says you shall vote, each council member shall vote for 2 nominees. In that case, the rule provides that you are to vote for 2. If a council member chooses to only vote for 1, that is what I would call a partial abstention. You're choosing to not exercise your right to vote. I certainly can't make you vote. I can't make a council member choose not to abstain. That's not what's contemplated by your rule, but it certainly is in the prerogative of a council member to do that.
I appreciate the response. And to be completely clear with my colleagues, I do plan to vote for at most 2 and reserve 1 abstention. And I want to make that clear so I come forth to the table with complete transparency.
Are there any, Councilmember Fleming?
Thank you, City Manager, for such a thorough explanation. Isn't it the case that if a council member chooses to abstain from a vote, that they have to provide a reason, and it has to be a legitimate reason?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your question, that they have to provide.
It used to be the case that we could abstain whenever we felt like it, and there's new laws on the books now that say, for example, because you have an interest in a certain industry or because you have a relationship with someone, you can't just abstain because you feel like it anymore under state law. Isn't that true?
Well, there is an important distinction between an abstention and a recusal. A recusal is where you have a legal obligation to recuse because of a conflict, for example. An abstention is actually different than that. And sometimes where it is unclear whether you have a legal obligation, a council member may recuse out of an abundance of caution because there's some question about whether they actually have a conflict, and so you'll recuse. If you're recusing, you have an obligation, except when we are at the consent calendar, there's an exception there. But you have not only do you have to announce it, you have to disclose the reason, what the financial interest is, and you have to leave the room. An abstention is different. It's not a legal obligation not to participate and not to vote, but instead it is essentially you're exercising a choice not to cast a vote.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Yes.
Just for clarification, so if we're required to have 2 votes, for example, we could opt to just vote for 1 person, for 1 council member. Okay,
yes, you
just
could.
want to be clear. Okay, thank you.
And are there any additional questions?
Madam Mayor?
Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I would advise that we probably go ahead and take public comment before you go ahead and collect nominations. So if there are any other questions, I would suggest that. But take public comment on the election of the mayor at this point.
Madam Mayor.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to make a motion that we accept your recommendation in regards to a tiebreaker, as you suggested in your presentation. Would this be the time to do that, or would it be suggested to do that after public comment?
I would suggest you do it after public comment.
Very well.
And with that, Madam City Clerk, may you please facilitate public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. We are now taking public comment on item 18.3. If you'd like to provide comment and have not yet provided a speaker card, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the public record if you choose to do so. The first public comment will be from Dwayne, then Adina, and following Madonna. One moment.
I was really excited about this whole process, and I'm so glad that all of you have done this. My comment right now won't be taken on this matter because I believe we should have a publicly elected mayor, that it should be a mayor elected by the voters, and I appreciate that all of you are doing this, but I do believe that in order for us to have a more democratic approach for the future, that you folks should start to look into the idea of us having not just district elections, but a popularly elected mayor by the voters of the city. With that said, I know who I want to be mayor, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to jinx them. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Adina, followed by Madonna, then Larry.
Madam
Adina,
City
go ahead.
Clerk, may I ask that we use both lecterns? So if you are next, Madonna, can you start to prepare? Thank you so much.
Please go ahead, Adina.
Good evening, Council. I know it's not often that you hear positive words from me, but I'm here today to advocate for 2 of our council members that I think would be great to fill the position of both either mayor or vice mayor. I don't know your internal workings, so that's up to you. First off, I'd like to support Eddie Alvarez as our mayor. I bought this jacket like a month ago, but it has the E with the rose, so I thought of you. I was like, I have to wear that today. Eddie's one of the only council members I've had the opportunity to know outside of the dais. I support the Hook 100%. I would prefer to buy my cannabis there. I hope they open again very soon. Secondly, I would support Councilwoman McDonald. I think she asks great questions. She really pays attention and knows how to streamline an agenda. So those are really important things to me. And then what I would like to reiterate further is whoever gets these seats, it's important to remember that you are going to be handling a budget deficit. You're going to be having to handle my inquiries, which are frequent and intense, and I know that. So really just accountability for whoever wants to be put in these roles. I know Roseland needs a lot of extra TLC. I definitely support uplifting our BIPOC communities and giving them as much help as we can. So I would appreciate having, somebody who is from the hood and understands the hood and understands what they need. And also, I would like to help Roseland. I'm working on a lot of projects right now. I'm helping their businesses to get organized to form a business association. I know Councilman Alvarez has been helping with that as well. So these are just some things to think about for giving, our underserved communities a little extra love and TLC. So thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Madonna. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to thank Mayor Natalie Rogers. As your term as mayor of Santa Rosa comes to an end, I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your exceptional service to our community. Your leadership has been a source of inspiration and progress, and your dedication to inclusivity, accessibility, and unity has left a lasting impact on myself and all who would listen. Your commitment to serving the people of Santa Rosa with integrity and compassion is evident in all you have accomplished. You have been a strong advocate for marginalized communities, ensuring that the voices of Native American residents and people with disabilities are not only heard but respected and integrated into the city's decisions and policies. Your inclusive leadership has created a sense of belonging and community that will continue to resonate long after tonight. I want to just thank you for your tireless efforts, your vision, and your commitment to building a Santa Rosa that reflects the strength and diversity of its people. Your leadership has been a sign of hope and progress, and we are fortunate to have had you at the position of mayor. I wish you the best in your future. I would also like to nominate Eddie Alvarez for the next mayor. I feel that representation matters, and leadership that reflects the demographics of the community ensures that all voices are heard and considered in decision making. A person of color in office can represent lived experiences and challenges faced by historically marginalized groups, offering a sense of inclusion and trust among diverse populations. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Larry. Hi, Larry, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, congratulations to the new and continuing council members. A special shout out to Councilmember Ben Willis for the overwhelming support she received from the good people of District 5. Absolutely the right person for the job. And in light of recent elections, it is really heartening to see the diversity of our council and also majority female representation. So thrilled to see all of you there. I'm here to stand wholeheartedly in support of Victoria Fleming for mayor of Santa Rosa for a few different reasons. She's now the senior member of this council, the most experienced and the most qualified. I believe she's the best able to serve all of Santa Rosa as our mayor. Stands with working families and marginalized communities, including women, children, BIPOC, and queer folks. Sorry, I don't like public speaking. Most importantly, for those that remember, the emergency paid sick leave ordinance at peak COVID. It's really rare that a city council, much less one council member, has had such a widely and deeply felt impact across so many municipalities and people's lives. The effort and determination to author, pass, and then lead the reauthorization of that ordinance was nothing short of Herculean, especially against the enormous opposition from corporate and special interests that are far more concerned with profit margins than they are with the health and safety of essential workers and their families. I had the honor at the time of representing frontline healthcare workers from Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital during COVID, which was literally ground zero for all of us here in Sonoma County. From before the very beginning, one hospital management was telling caregivers not to wear masks because it would scare patients. Through shelter in place and peak hospitalizations when entire units were converted, and dozens of those caregivers were in quarantine or ICU themselves. Victoria stood with them, as did some others. Victoria stood with them every step of the way, was on the front line in a mask, was calling and leading the effort for hospital CEOs to prioritize health and safety over profit margins. That emergency ordinance was used as a template in cities and counties, cities and towns up and down 101, and then eventually Sonoma County for all of our incorporated areas. It is not an exaggeration to say, sorry, I looked at the clock. It's not an exaggeration to say that this ordinance saved lives. It protected workers and families in all industries, but primarily essential workers who served all of us and kept our city government going. It's rare that a city council or council member has the instincts or the abilities to impact, improve, and safeguard so many lives. As a 35-year resident of Santa Rosa, I ask each of our council members to join me in supporting our senior council member by appointing her as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please, at the East Lectern. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Anna Diaz, and I am from Roseland. I just want to thank Madam Mayor Rogers. You have been amazing, and you have represented the city very well, and I just want to thank you for your service. It took a lot of time, it took a lot of dedication, and more than anything, you were serving while having a family, so thank you. I'm here to obviously put in my support for, I want to say there's about 2 people here that have really stepped up for the city this past couple years, and it's City Council member Diana McDonald and Eddie Alvarez. But today I'm here to support Eddie Alvarez to be the mayor of Santa Rosa. When I came into politics, I actually came to this to speak right here, and Eddie Alvarez was the most approachable city council member here. So I want to thank you for being so opening, and you know, if it's not just myself, it's the business owners that are here. We have the owner of Belly here. We have the owner of Willie B's here. And I know that there's many friends and family, your mom, your brothers here in support of you tonight. So that just means a lot to all of us as a community in Roseland. When I stepped into politics, Eddie, you were like one of the biggest examples that I could look up to. Not only were you about guidance and support, you didn't view everything as a cancellation culture. You saw everything as giving advice and tips and correcting somebody's wrong without making them feel bad. And that's more than a leader can take overall in supporting the city. With Trump now into office, there's a lot of people from my community who are scared for their safety. Now it's a whole new pandemic. They're gonna be staying home because they're afraid of mass deportation and of ICE, especially in my area in Roseland. So I hope that when you guys are voting today, you take that to consideration, because my people are scared. Also, with the whole aspect of supporting local businesses, Eddie, Roseland Business Association could not be here today, but they're here with you in spirit. So I hope that you take that into consideration. And as mentioned, I really don't think, me personally being a grassroots Santa Rosan just like you, born and raised here in Santa Rosa, just like City Council member Diana McDonald, I mean, I really hope that today the City Council members make the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker on the West Sector, and please go ahead.
Everyone, my name's Andre Rogers. I think I used to be the first man now. Now I'm some man in Santa Rosa. This message is for my wife. Wrote a little something for you as you depart from the seat of the mayor back to the council. As we gather here today, I'm filled with immense pride and gratitude for the incredible journey my wife, Natalie Rogers, has. Hadn't been the first black mayor, female mayor to lead Santa Rosa. Tonight we celebrate not just your accomplishment, but the trail that you've blazed, the lives that you touch, and the legacy that you leave behind. When Natalie Rogers stepped into this role, she knew it was more than a title. It was responsibility to represent progress, equity, and hope. She understood the weight of being the first, and she carried it with grace, resilience, and determination. Her time as mayor has shown Santa Rosa and the world that leadership is not just about breaking barriers, it's about building bridges. Under her leadership, Santa Rosa has faced challenges head on and emerged stronger, whether it's guiding our city through moments of uncertainty, advocating for sustainable growth, or ensuring that every voice, no matter how quiet, was heard. She led with the vision of bold, inclusive, and compassion. Her commitment to equity and opportunity has created pathways for future generations of leaders to follow. For young girls of color, she has shown that the glass ceiling is not just meant to be cracked, it's meant to be shattered. For our entire community, she has reminded us that diversity is not a challenge to overcome, but a strength to embrace. Rather going to DC and advocating and successfully obtaining funds for city projects, advocating for affordable housing, fair pay in workplace, protecting children, improving the number around successfully housing the unhoused. We appreciate her. As she steps away from this role as mayor, I know her work is far from done. Leadership is not defined by title, but by one's heart and purpose, and she carries both in abundance. I am excited to see how she will continue to inspire, empower, and serve in new ways. To my wife, I say to you, you made history, but more importantly, you made a difference. Your courage, dedication, and unwavering belief in the community have set a standard for leadership that will be remembered for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please go ahead.
Could I speak, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi. That was awesome. Just unbelievable, and thank you for that. And I want to say that I was going to just stand up and thank Dwayne and say what I tell people is we need to have an elected mayor, but I'm talking about elected from the populace. And the reason is that we're growing, our lives here have become very complex, and that the mayor should be the mayor for 4 years, and that should be it in my thinking. So I was really happy to hear Dwayne get up and say a 4-year mayor. However, I don't think that's going to happen tonight, but I think Eddie is terrific, and everything I've learned about him, and it was before anything else. I mean, I've been watching Eddie for a long time, and I think that he would be a terrific mayor here in Santa Rosa, and I'd like to see Eddie elected.
Thank you. Mayor, I see no one else approaching the podium for public comment on this item.
Okay, and with that, we will bring it back to the council for nominations for mayor. Councilmember Okrepke.
I'd like to nominate Vice Mayor Mark Stapp.
Second.
I accept. Thank you.
All right, so we have one nomination. Yes, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to, Councilmember Fleming.
In the spirit of collegiality, I'll second that.
Do you
I'm going to decline the nomination. Thank you.
I believe she declined the nomination. Do we have any additional nominations? Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councilmember McDonald if she accepts.
Second.
I will accept the nomination.
Are there any additional nominations? Councilmember McDonald?
I would like to nominate Councilmember Alvarez.
I'm honored.
Second, and I think he accepted the nomination. So we have Vice Mayor Stapp, Councilmember McDonald, and Councilmember Alvarez that have been nominated and accepted the nomination. City Attorney?
Okay. You have 3 nominees, and the nomination period is over. Is that correct, Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Okay. Under your rules, you have 3 nominees. Your first round of voting, each council member would vote for 2 of the 3 nominees. No one other than someone who has been a nominee that's been seconded and accepted counts, and so if you were to vote for someone else, we would just simply cross that one off of your ballot. So you would vote for 2 at this point. So the clerk, I believe, is going to hand out your ballots.
One moment while I prepare the ballots, please.
All right, I have a joke. No, I'm just playing. I don't have a joke. It was real quiet in here, though.
So as you will see, your ballot has a place for you to write your name in. Please do that so that when we receive the ballots, we are able to share with the public what each council member's vote is. Okay, and I will remind you that you are in this round. The rule contemplates that each council member will vote for 2 nominees, and the nominees are in alphabetical order: Eddie Alvarez, Diana McDonald, and Mark Stepp.
Has everyone completed their ballot? Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Alvarez voted for Councilmember Alvarez. Councilmember Banuelos voted for Stapp and Alvarez. Councilmember Fleming voted for Stapp. Councilmember McDonald voted for Alvarez and McDonald. Councilmember Okrepke voted for McDonald and Stapp. Mayor Rogers voted for Alvarez and McDonald. And Councilmember or Vice Mayor Stapp voted for McDonald and Stapp.
Madam City Attorney, Can you fix this one?
Okay, so we're going to take a brief pause, and the deputy clerk and I are each going to tally our votes, and we have two of us doing it. We're first comparing that we took it down correctly, and we are going to tally the votes, and then we will report out. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, we have both have the same results, and you all may have counted them faster than we did. We have a three-way tie at 4 votes. So we are not stuck. Then we are going to move on then to the next round. No one got eliminated. As you may recall, under your rules, no one is eliminated unless they receive 0 votes or 1 vote. We have all 3 nominees at 4 votes. No one has a majority of the votes cast. The votes cast are 12. That would be 7. No one has 7. So we don't have a mayor. We don't have anyone eliminated. We'll now move on to your next round. The clerk will be passing out a ballot. We still have the same 3 nominees. In this round that you just voted, you were to vote for 2 of the nominees. In this next round, each council member votes for only 1 nominee. Remember that if you vote for more than 1, we will have to disqualify your ballot. So only vote for 1, please.
Thank you. For round 2 of voting, Councilmember Alvarez voted for Alvarez. Councilmember Banuelos voted for Stapp. Councilmember Fleming voted for Stapp. Councilmember MacDonald voted for Alvarez. Councilmember Okrepke voted for Stapp. Mayor Rogers voted for Alvarez. And Vice Mayor Stapp voted for Stapp.
Madam City Attorney, when you're ready.
Okay. We have 4 votes for Mark Stepp and 3 votes for Eddie Alvarez. It takes 4 to, 4 is the majority here, so our new mayor would be Councilmember Mark Stepp. That is my tally, but I don't get to declare it. It is our outgoing mayor, Natalie Rogers, who would declare who the mayor is and then hand over the gavel to the new mayor.
It is my pleasure to hand over the gavel to you, Mayor Stepp.
We'll have a few more words later, but we don't want to stop the fun when we're right in the middle of it. We're going to go right into the vice mayor vote, which again is using the same process. Is that correct, Madam City Attorney?
We are using the same process, so what I would recommend is that we go ahead and if there are any questions about the process, go ahead and ask them. I think we are separately doing public comment on the vice mayor selection, and so that would go next before you get into your nominations. So would anyone like me to repeat what the steps are, or does anyone have any questions?
Mayor Emeritus Rogers.
No, ma'am. We don't want you to repeat this stuff.
We're good. We're good to go.
Good. Sorry.
So we're ready for nominations then, am I correct?
And we have to take public comment.
Perfect. Let's go to public comment and then we'll get on to nominations.
Thank you. We are now taking public comments on item 18.4. If you're in the council chamber and you would like to provide comment on the vice mayor selection but have not yet provided a speaker card, please make your way to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will alert at the end of that period. We will take, let's see here. As you approach the podium, please state your name for the record if you choose to do so. Please go ahead, speaker on the east lectern.
Hi, I'm Adina Flores, and I'm extremely disheartened by the results that we just heard with Mayor. Repeatedly, I hear in this community after we labeled racism as a public health crisis within this city and in the county as well, that our BIPOC communities matter. But what I just saw is every white person at the dais went ahead and did not tout their support for Mr. Alvarez other than Councilwoman McDonald. So that speaks volumes about her. I'm okay, like I said, with Mr. Alvarez or Councilwoman McDonald being our vice mayor. Again, I'm extremely disheartened by this decision. But you know what? I'm glad that Mr. Stapp is your new mayor because he's currently still under investigation with the Fair Political Practices Commission. And I don't like him very much. He's had my name out of his mouth, and that was confirmed in text messages. As for Mr. Alvarez and Councilwoman McDonald, I have nothing but good things to say about you two, and I don't want that heat for you that's about to come with this budget deficit and the things that I'm discovering. So, welcome, Mr. Stapp. Enjoy being mayor. God bless.
Thank you. Mayor
right,
Stapp, I see no one else providing public comment for this item.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Bringing it back to council, looking for nominations for vice mayor. I'll kick it off. If Jeff Okrepke is willing, I'll nominate Jeff.
I'll second and accept.
Are there any additional nominations?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to nominate, if he's willing, Councilmember Eddie Alvarez.
Second.
And I will accept.
Are there any additional nominations? right, we've got Eddie and we've got Jeff. Councilmember Okrepke and Councilmember Alvarez.
Okay, so this is a one-vote process. And so the clerk is, I think, needing a moment to prepare your ballots and prepare our tally sheet. Although I don't think, are we doing a tally sheet for one vote? No.
So taking a little vacation in my head.
We're just waiting for the clerk. This is also done by ballot, and so the clerk is preparing ballots based on the nominations. So it'll just take a moment for her to print them out and then deliver those to you.
Thank you again.
Councilmember Benuelos voted for Alvarez. Councilmember Alvarez voted for Alvarez. Mayor Stapp voted for Okrepke. Councilmember McDonald voted for Alvarez. Councilmember Okrepke voted for Okrepke. Councilmember Fleming voted for Okrepke. Councilmember Rogers voted for Alvarez. The tally is Councilmember Alvarez received 4 votes and Councilmember Okrepke received 3 votes.
Do we have a tally?
4 votes, yes. I have the same tally. 4 votes is sufficient to have you all elect a new vice mayor. And we have 4 votes here. So, Mr. Mayor, would you like to declare who
I would like to declare with pleasure actually, Councilmember Alvarez as my vice mayor. And it's been a long night and an interesting night on this edition of Survivor Santa Rosa City Council. But if I could beg your patience for just a couple more minutes, I wanted to say a few words, and I suspect that my new colleague, my new Vice Mayor Alvarez, would like to say a few words as well. Oh, of course, and our new member up on the dais. So grant us just a few minutes more. It's of course an honor and a privilege to be serving as the new mayor. I'm really grateful that my colleagues are putting this trust in me. there's some pomp and circumstance that goes along with being mayor. But true political insiders know that when you're serving in a weak mayor system like we have here, the job of mayor is really being something. Well, it's dealing with administrative tasks behind the scenes. It's supporting other council members, and I wanted to take just a moment to remind people what my colleagues have been up to. Vice Mayor Alvarez, he mentioned the Roseland Business Association that he's been integral in helping to start. Other members of that are here today. You mentioned the Hearn Avenue project, which is going to be a boon to the whole city. You've been a relentless voice on infrastructure and development projects for the Roseland area, but it's good for the whole city. That work is I'm looking forward to helping you continue that work. Councilmember Benuelos, you're coming to us after a long tenure at Santa Rosa Junior College, and you and I served together. You and I served together at Sonoma State University. I don't have to tell anybody in this room the importance of education issues right now in the city of Santa Rosa. I'm looking forward to working with you on those. Madam Mayor, I didn't have a chance to express earlier how much I enjoyed being your vice mayor. Madam Mayor Emeritus, I should say. We were a good team. We won't recount the good things we did together, but I wanted to highlight one thing that I'm taking away from you that I know you're continuing to work on, and that's your relentless focus on issues of family and children. And as well, you're bringing new people into engagement with the city. Evidence being here tonight, but we've seen it throughout the year. Councilmember McDonald, I've enjoyed having you as chair of the Violence Prevention Partnership. You and I are a good team there as well. Again, when it comes to issues of education, you're our expert on the council. Your time at the PTA, your focus on families and children. Thank you very much. Councilmember Fleming, you serve on some of our most important boards, some of our most important county boards. You're bringing money and projects into the area. You're our longest-serving tenure on the longest-serving council member on the dais. You're bringing an incredible wealth of experience. I've learned a lot from watching you, and I'm looking forward to working with you more closely in the future. Councilmember Okrepke, with public safety, with your time on the planning department, your expertise in development matters, you're a boon to the council every day, and I know those are your areas of focus going forward. I'm just picking out highlights from my fellow council members because I wanted to paint a picture of what this body is engaged with and what we're likely to be engaged with going forward. And again, say how pleased I am to be supporting them in their work and the overall work of this council. On that, I'll just put on a little tickler for those of you who have your calendars in front of you. I think we've got, on January 28th, we've got the budget priorities discussion coming next year. On February 11th, we've got goal setting. So for those of you who are asking what this council is going to be up to, I gave you a few highlights right here, but in the course of the next month, in January and February, you're going to hear a lot more, so please join us. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my new vice mayor, our new vice mayor, whom I'm very much looking forward to working with.
I appreciate that. Mayor Stapp. It's got a very good ring to it, I must admit. But no, I want to thank my supporters. I want to thank my community for coming out and being so boisterous in support of Eddie Alvarez. The reality is that I'm in a place that I never thought I'd be in. And my community has always been there by my side, shoulder to shoulder. And there's one thing that I'm ever so grateful for. Now with the new administration, it's true, my community is fearful. And with the title of vice mayor, it still has the word alcalde, mayor. But it's not only that, but it's also the 7 of us who stand in solidarity with the community that is fearing crazy rhetoric that's happening in our nation. It's fear-mongering. And I'm proud to say that our chief stands in solidarity with the community. Our council members stand in solidarity with our community. So I'm proud. I'm proud to be a Santa Rosan, and I could be a street sweeper, dog catcher. But as long as I know that my people are with me, I'm ever so proud. And my mom. Espero que en esta vida me des el perdón por lo mucho que te he hecho sufrir. My mom, always working. My brother by her, he was in her belly as my mom's going to work at a fish factory in San Francisco. Had to turn around because she was in labor. PTA meetings, graduations, elementary, junior high, high school, even healed. Where's my mom? She's out there working, providing. That is the life of an immigrant who provides and sacrifices so much for her sons to be somewhere. I'm proud to be where I'm at. I want to thank my community, my council members, for putting me where I'm at. Thank you. Pero mamá, te quiero mucho.
Councilmember Banuelos and Sonoma State University employee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, and I know it's been a long night, and I have a little cold, so I'm not functioning full 100%. But I would like to say how honored I am to be here. I want to thank all my supporters, but more than supporters, my friends, for being here tonight to support me, because doing this process, the swearing in was easy. The mayor part was really hard for me, and so I really appreciate you all being here. My family that's watching online, thank you. It is very true that, and all of my colleagues here know, it takes a village to get elected, and you can't do it alone, and you need all the help you can get, and I had fantastic support from my folks, and I just want to thank you all, and most of all the voters of my district, the 5th district, which actually is 30% Latino. And the majority of my votes actually came from there, so I am so grateful to my community as well. And I think my colleagues, and I don't mean to speak for them, but I think all of us together will fight whatever comes our way in terms of resistance to anything that happens, especially to the Latino community. Some of you know that my father, who was an immigrant, just passed away, literally. So this has been a time of happiness for me, because winning this seat was 20 years in the making, as someone just reminded me. My father was alive to see me win, but then he passed away. So it's been a time of happiness, but it's also been a time of real sadness. But I'm able to be here and stand with you all because of all of you, the community. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, council member. And with that, we'll go to our final public comment for the evening on non-agenda matters. Is there anybody who'd like to speak? Ms. Flores, did you speak earlier at the public comment on non-agenda matters? You're allowed to speak at one of the two. This is the second of the It's been a long night. Non-agenda item, public comment on non-agenda items. Madam City Clerk, is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
It looks like there's one more person at the podium. We are having an issue with our monitors in the room, but I will set a timer, but you just won't be able to see it. So just know that I will be watching the clock for 3 minutes and give you a thumbs up when you need to wrap it up.
Right, sounds good. Mayor, staff, council members, including new council member Banuelos, congratulations and welcome. Madam City Manager Smith and staff, Jen Close, Executive Director, Generation Housing. As you know, housing is complicated and it's foundational to the health of our community. And you have lots to learn about lots of complicated things, and so we want to try to make it easy for you. So every 2 years, Generation Housing offers a Housing 101 for electeds and planning commission members. This year it will be on Friday, February 7th. I know you're all getting out your calendars right now. From 11 to 4:30, we will teach you lots of things about how to finance affordable housing and market rate housing, about zoning and land use, all the super sexy stuff around housing, about how equity and local economy improves when we develop housing in the right way in the right places. And we will feed you. So I will also want to tease that this year's Housing 201, the follow-up, which will be virtual, at that we will bring back our very popular panels from our recent Housing Solutions Summit, the folks from Minneapolis, who in just a few years with just local policy increased housing stock by 12%, reduced homelessness by 12%, and kept rent stable. You'll want to hear from them, as well as developers who will be there to answer the question, what would bring me, what kind of local policy would bring us as developers to the North Bay to develop? What would bring us to Santa Rosa? So just teasing that, wait for details on that, but please mark your calendars for February 7th, 11 to 4:30. We will teach you lots of things, 11 to 4, sorry. 11 to 4, we'll feed you, we will teach you, and then afterwards we'll get cocktails if you want. So welcome again, thank you. Look forward to working with you in partnership.
Next speaker, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Veronica Cruz, and I'm just wanted to say to my friend, Carolyn, congratulations. And I just really think that if it wasn't for district elections, a lot of you would not be sitting at the city council. And it's been a long time coming. And I think that CAB as well I'm glad that that's going that route. I was on CAB for 4 years, and that's all I'm going to say. But congratulations, Caroline. I think you're going to be a great council member, and I'm looking forward to being more involved in things that go on at City Hall. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor Stapp, I see no one else approaching the podium for public comment. I do have a quick note to correct. We had a late-breaking change this afternoon on the goal-setting meeting date. It is now scheduled for February 19th. So I just wanted to make that announcement as close to when you had said the original date. So my apologies that it hadn't been communicated earlier.
No, thanks for that correction. All right, we'll look forward to that date. And that brings us to our final item in the evening, adjournment. Thanks to everyone for sticking around.